Welcome to the Starforged Legends season, the NGE Shadowverse Open. We're back again. This time the qualifiers phase is back, and we're doing North America. Yesterday was Europe, and we got to see who the first two players to make it into the season for the European region were, and today we're going to figure out who the first two for North America is going to be. I'm Rainey, your host, and joining me is Justin Carter and Molly Rogers, back again. What's up, guys? Honestly, I've been playing some Starforged Legends, and I'm absolutely terrible at the game.
It's okay, man.
Oh, yeah?
We all start somewhere, yeah.
It's been reaffirmed with yet another expansion. I feel like my life is on a loop.
Well, it's hard. It's a new expansion. You got to figure things out. Other people are figuring things out. You don't know what's going on the ladder. You know what I mean? It's a crazy time.
Mm-hmm. Definitely a crazy time. And
It should be your time. I mean, Forest is playable now, so
yeah, Forest
this should be your moment. This should be your moment. You've been waiting for this, Rainey.
Forest is always playable in my heart.
Yeah.
But you're absolutely right. Envy's absolutely right. We're probably going to see a lot of Forest today, but these players are having a little bit of a crazy time themselves. The tournament structure for this season is a little bit different because there's a lot going on. We're in weeks 1 to 3. We're in the qualifier stages. It's open registration, so anybody can join. As long as you have 3 decks to submit, you can join if you're in the North American or European region. And it's going to be a double elimination bracket, best of 3 3-deck 1-band format. And the top 2 players from each week advances to get us 6 qualified players who join the 6 remaining players, the top 6 players from Season 2. And then that will make up the new Starforged Legends season. And then Week 4 is a very special time. The Contenders Cup is happening, and that's a predecessor to the World Grand Prix. The top 3 players from the Contenders Cup are going to be flown out to Tokyo, Japan to compete against all the other regions and fight out for $120,000 worth of prize pool. So, very exciting stuff. You definitely want to be participating right now. There's 2 more weeks of qualifiers left. Too late to play in the European qualifier week 1 because that's already done. Too late to play in this qualifier because it's already happening, but you can sign up for next week. So make sure you do that if you want to fly to Japan and play some Shadowverse. But they're not playing for nothing. You know, it's not just for the World Grand Prix potential spot. There's some prizes here on the table for all the players participating. First place gets 30,000 vials and the invitational qualification. Second place also gets invited in 10,000 vials. And third, fourth gets 4,000. Fifth through 8th gets 3,500. And 9th through 16th gets 1,500. And all open qualifier participants earn the emblem. And of course, for the invitationals itself, 4th place gets $250 for each group, same as Season 2. And then the top 6 move on to the playoffs, and all competitors will own the top 12 flare. And then for the actual playoffs itself, the regional finals, 1st place gets $6,500 and the grand champion flare. And then 2nd gets $3,000, 3rd gets $2,500. 4th gets $1,500, and 5th and 6th get $950. So many prizes, lots of money being given out, and the competition is being amped up season by season. Live events are happening. You know, it's a pretty cool time to close out 2017 for Shadowverse competitive. So.
It is, yeah.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of cool stuff, and I can't wait to see how Starforged Legends kind of turns out, especially because the meta is, still, I think there are certain decks that are kind of favored right now, but remember, the game could completely change from month to month. So if you want to keep up with all these updates and changes, make sure you go to @Shadowverse Game, and that's where you can find all your information from official Shadowverse events and happenings, as well as sometimes community stuff gets put on there too. A lot of the community figures on Shadowverse are active on Twitter, so definitely get an account if you don't have one, and contact us and talk. So
Please do.
how are you guys feeling about the tournament today? Some interesting things happen. It's been a very family day today. I don't know if you guys know, but Teji has been competing with his son. Both him and his son have participated in the tournament.
That's awesome.
And then Gengar was competing alongside his little brother, so both of them participated in the tournament. I don't really know how far each of them have gone. I think Teji and Teji Jr. are out, and I think Gengar was tweeting about how his little brother got elbow dropped, so he's out. But what do you feel about North America? I mean, we saw Europe and maybe Envy maybe I'll ask Envy this question first, but what did you think of the European qualifiers, and what are you looking forward for today for North America?
They were definitely exciting. I think we've gotten a lot more Japan results than we have from EU and NA as far as Starforged Legends goes. So it's going to be interesting to see how North America tackles the meta for sure. I mean, obviously we're going to play a lot of the same stuff. I think we're going to see a lot of Prime Dragon Keep, but we're going to see a lot of maybe not Atomy, but maybe it'll be in there because it's doing really well in Japan. So it would be odd not to see it here or EU.
We're hoping for it.
Yeah.
But NA is number 1 anyway, so I'm looking forward to it.
NA is
Bias.
NA is the best.
NA
Best.
number 1.
What do you think, Exodium? Of course, Europe had a lot of new names, but there's, new in the sense that they weren't participating in Season 2, but new faces in North America as well, in terms of Mana Surge's Icy Stars and Red, and Mana Surge has been a big team in North America just in general, but they seem to be coming up strong. What do you think about the competitors today for the North American bracket?
Well, for the ones that we know, I'm excited to see him. Like Icy Stars, I'm glad to see that he's back in competitive play. He usually is really good at the beginning of the season because he is a hyper aggro player. You know what I mean? Like it's aggro, aggro, aggro. He doesn't fail to disappoint today. He's bringing in an aggro lineup. And what I'm excited to see today is just a different wealth of options. Like Starforged Legends is huge. There's a lot of decks you can make. And I don't think today is going to disappoint. We're going to see a lot of different decks than we saw yesterday, which is awesome. And then after this week, with all of these decks that people are playing, we're going to see really defined lists and control decks and mid-range and stuff start to peek their ugly heads out in about a week or so.
All the ugly heads. I want to see every single
right.
one of them and make note of it. So that's kind of the breakdown for today. And we're going to be able to look at the participants and where they stand. Of course, because it's a double elimination, there are particular players that are on the winner's end, and there are particular players that are on the loser's end. And as we know, that winner's end advantage is very, very strong. So we can take a look at the bracket and see how these players fit into the situation. I think right now Mana Surge is very favored just in the sense that they have both Icy Stars and Red up there. And of course, a strong competitor, Disastra's Underwear, making it back, was in the bottom 6 of Season 2. So good to see him back here, and we'll see if he can make it again for Season 3. And then we've got somebody from Douyu TV. We've got Piao.
Pew!
Okay, Exodium. All right, buddy. I'm about to fly over to Arizona and kick you.
No, don't.
No, please. It's okay. Yeah. I'm actually thinking about that name because Chinese is very difficult. It's a very difficult language. I've learned Chinese for a little while, but I can never get the hang of it. And you never know what those words mean because you have no idea what character it is. So I have no idea what Piao's name is supposed to be. But he's going to be facing off against Icy Stars. That's going to be interesting. Now, I haven't seen Piao play at all, but we've seen a little bit about Icy Stars, and you talked about the aggressive gameplay. Now, what do you think about bringing triple aggressive lineups in this kind of, I guess, what would you call it? Open decks, but it's blind deck submission tournament, and you have to keep that deck the whole way through. What do you think about that, Exodium?
Well, I think it's great for 2 reasons. One, it's the beginning of the season, and I know we've harped on this fact a lot, where aggro's usually good at the beginning of the season, but if you're an aggressive player already, this is your time to shine. Like, I think this first week is Icy Star's best week to actually get into the playoffs. Mostly because as the weeks progress, like I said, more mid-range, more control is going to start rearing out, and it's going to be a lot harder for these aggressively minded players to kind of push through. So this is the week to do it. And then moving forward, every week it's going to get a little bit worse to play aggressive lineups, just 1, 2, 3 all the time, because it's just going to be a harder field for them to win in.
Yeah, and the players are loading in, so we'll definitely be seeing if that plays out as the weeks continue. But Envy, in your mind, of course, like Exodium said, aggressive lineups are going to be very prominent here, but what do you kind of foresee the control lineups and maybe some of the slower pace, maybe mid-range lineups playing out to be? What are some of your favorite options right now?
I personally am playing a lot of D-Shift, and people don't know this, but I've been playing some Atomy off stream.
Yes.
I wouldn't exactly call Atomy, I wouldn't call Atomy control. D-Shift's more of the control, but Atomy is kind of like an all-in, kind of like a mid-range aggro, draw your entire deck kind of deal. But I actually think that D-Shift has a pretty okay time in a format where you can ban Dragon or Sword. If you can ban Sword away, if I could just never play against Sword, D-Shift's actually not that bad right now. So I wouldn't be surprised to see it, actually.
We'll see if the D-Shift dream comes true. Of course, as we've seen for Dimensional Shift, some of its matchups can be very divisive, right? In a sense that when you play against an aggressive lineup, it's absolutely hell. And then
you gotta lose, basically.
The actual worst, yeah.
And
you have to wait on that deck.
You feel like you're on cloud 9 when you're playing against certain control decks because they just give you all the time in the world. So we'll see if that plays out. And of course, the ban kind of factors into that in a very big way. But let's talk about these two players here and what they're fielding. Go ahead and kick us off, Exo.
Sure. So we actually, like I said, get to see very different decks than we saw. Yes, we saw Aggro Sword yesterday, but today Icy Stars is bringing like literal million 1-drops and just support to just do as much damage. I don't think he plays anything over cost 6 in just a single Alwita's command. And just to go aggressive is crazy. And then Piao over on the other side is running Aegis Haven finally. This is our first iteration we get to see in competitive play with, of course, Aether of the White Wing to pull out a nice little toolbox. And he's playing PTP Forest, which is a lot different than all the Forest decks we saw yesterday. So as we see it kick off, Envy, with Icy Stars' hand here and the aggression that he's showing, do you think he has a pretty good shot here against Piao in this first game?
I mean, I don't know. It's looking good for him right now, obviously. But
that's how it
Piao
always
has
does.
Cleric Lancer into White Wing pulling Cleric Lancers. So, and if he wants to, Themis on 6. So, I don't know. I mean, the Snow White can clear 2 dudes, and after that,
that's
I mean,
true.
that's
kind of how the aggro sword decks feel, right? Like you have this big boatload of steam in the first couple turns, but if that steam like basically goes away, you have to just draw your storm followers for the rest of the game to finish them off.
Exactly.
And Piao, like you said, has Cleric Lancer in his deck. We haven't seen Cleric Lancer in competitive play yet, and with Aether of the White Wing, talk to us about why that's a good strategy. I heard you talking to me about that a little bit before the stream. What do you think about that synergy?
So Cleric Lancer is, just so for anybody who doesn't know, honestly, I might get the stats wrong. It's a basic set card, I think, or standard set card. It is a 5 play point 1/6 or 1/7, I think. Yeah, 1/6 base stats. But on your opponent's turn, gains 3 attack. And it has ward.
I think it's more. I think it's like 4 or 5.
Is it 4?
It's something
4
ridiculous.
attack? Yeah, see,
it's
look at that. It's such an old card that literally nobody plays.
Right. Right.
And then it has ward, obviously great stuff for, against aggro decks. And then Aether of the White Wing is a new card from Starforged Legends. It's a 6 play point 1/3 that will pull, it's a very oddly named, oddly worded effect. It pulls a random Havencraft follower from your deck equal to the highest, it's like the highest number of play points below the one you're on. So basically, if you play Aether of the White Wing on 6, then you'll pull Cleric Lancer every time because it's 5. It's 1 less than 6.
If it's the only 5-cost Havencraft follower in your deck, which Piao has built his deck around that card, so that is what is going on here.
Lots of wordy effects here. Lots of words.
That's right.
On,
lots of words. Absolutely.
Long story short, he's looking to put up a wall.
That's right. And it's actually interesting. Piao does not play any 6-drops in his, or I'm sorry, not 6-drops, but 7-drops in his deck to pull. Like no Luxwing Sarissa, nothing like that to kind of muck up the mid game. But he is playing Taurus into actually 3 Aegises alongside of his 3 Aegis or Aether of the White Wing. So definitely looking to get to that Aegis endgame, and Cleric Lancers to help him get there.
I mean, if you eventually get to 10 play points, then she pulls Aegis. So
yeah, she does.
That's pretty good.
That is pretty good. All right, so here we see the wall getting set up.
Has to get rid of the Bane, and he does. Well, Cleric Lancer is still, and now it's beefy. 7/7 with ward.
Super beefy.
But unfortunately, a Bane was just top decked again.
Yes. Council of Card Knights, again, always a card you're happy to see when you're playing Sword off the top. That'll continue the aggression
here. This council is actually really, really important, too, because it's going to allow him to get in for a lot, and then setting up for Albert next turn.
That's right. So even though Aether of the White Wing could be set up for next turn, and like a singleton Cleric Lancer, I don't think is going to be big enough to really handle this board.
I don't think it is. With Stars even seeing like he can put him down to 3 if he attacks with the Ephemera. Normally people don't let their Ephemera come out of stealth, but putting them to 3, having Albert in hand, knowing Albert will do 3 next turn. So
especially on a Themis turn, like this sets up perfectly because Themis is the best option here, but again, with Piao being at 3 makes it kind of like this impossible situation. So Icy Stars knowing how to play against Haven and really showing his dominance with Sword in this first game.
Yep. There's not, because of Ephemera, there's not really anything Piao can do.
Mm-hmm. And which is, I really want to see what this Aegis deck can do. It's unfortunate that it had to play against this really super hyper aggressive sword in game 1, but we'll definitely see it again, I'm assuming, unless he chooses to play PTP Force, and then we don't get to see the Aegis Haven again. But Aegis was sorely lacking on the European side, and I feel like it's one of the stronger decks right now. Maybe not against this type of sword when you're on the draw, but definitely a good deck overall in the meta.
It is interesting that he chose to ban Dragon and keep Sword, when I would think that Aegis Haven would want to find Dragon. I'm not entirely sure how the Aegis PDK matchup goes, Prime Dragon Keeper matchup goes, but, you know, I would imagine
I would assume better than Sword, because you're board clearing a bunch, which is naturally good against PDK, whereas against Sword, you can board clear all day, but there's still going to be leftover followers to kind of end the game here. So, and that's what we see.
So it took Stars a few seconds there to notice that he still had lethal there, attacking with the, I think was it the Club Soldier? I'm not sure which one has Storm, but attacking with that, getting 2 attack, and then Ephemera would have the last damage there. So,
and we made mention of this yesterday. Ephemera is so good right now. Not so good in the last season, but we still saw people playing it. But this season, with the way Sword is shaping up, so much extra damage you see that card putting out every single game.
I mean, realistically, any deck could run Ephemera. She's basically just Sword's Royal Banner, but much better. So
here's another interesting deck that Icy Stars presents us with today. So this is a new version of Daria. So this is Daria playing Chain of Calling and playing Concentration. I'm still not sure about the Concentration, but
that is
it
weird,
definitely work. And he's playing Mystic Ring, which I feel like Mystic Ring hasn't really found a great home. It's kind of like a good utility card. But in Daria, it's probably at its best, right? It's spell boost for 1. It puts Oglers and Blade Mages back into your deck so you can redraw them with Daria. It puts Darias back in your deck so you don't double up on them. I feel like this is a nice perfect home for it.
Yeah, Mystic Ring may be a neutral card, but it's very, very well utilized by Runecraft. And see, here he's going to hope he draws a Mystic Ring.
Right, exactly. So with this matchup, I know that Daria used to be kind of 50-50 with Haven just because of the Themis decrees and all that kind of stuff. But with this new version of getting more consistent Darias, do you think that maybe Daria has a chance to pull ahead in the percentage points in this matchup, or do you think it's about the same?
I imagine Aegis will eke out. Daria, especially with a slow start like this, does not have a very good chance against any kind of control deck. So, yeah.
This is interesting. Mystic Rings into Mystic Rings to kind of like help smooth out Icy Stars' draw here. I like this. So you say slow, but he's going to be able to Daria as early as next turn before Themis is ready.
That is true,
and then
he could.
With that Mystic Ring, the ability to redraw into Daria.
It's a pretty good card. Mystic Ring's great.
Pretty good.
That Craig is going to be 3. Yeah.
Doing the math here to see if he can play anything before the Ogler and the Daria. Doesn't want to take the chance to draw into something with the
I imagine, because he could have played the Ooh, oh my gosh.
There's
no gas in that hand, but ooh. Now this hand is a
follow-up mutagenic bolt, though.
That is true. That is true. It's right before Themis turn, which makes it probably the most explosive hand he could have gotten. But if this gets handled in any way possible, if something happens to this hand, then he has nothing to fall on.
That's true. There is no backup Darias, no concentration for extra card draw, nothing like that. So this is pretty much it, unless Icy Stars can top deck out of it.
I don't think it's going to matter, though. I mean, he has a lot of damage here.
Yes, he does.
A lot.
We actually don't see a Themis in the hand of Piao right now. So if Themis is in top deck,
there's not even a Themis,
this is going to get really dicey. Especially with that mutagenic bolt coming down to basically do whatever it wants to whatever board Piao has left over.
He can put him at 5. Yeah, he's going to put him down to 5. Goes for Themis. And Icy Stars is all in here. If Themis actually happens, he has nothing. There's not a Themis, though.
No Themis. So I feel like this will be an Aether turn into the Cleric Lancer to try to do something, but I think even on board that's not good enough.
That's not, because of Mutagenic Bolt. Wow.
And Icy Stars just train wrecking with his aggro decks, showing the true
Icy
power
Stars
of
winning on 6 play points twice.
How
What a
Yeah.
I mean, you said it
pretty
yourself.
insane.
He's an aggro player. Yeah.
That's right. And he's, like I said, this is his best week. I really feel like he's playing to his strengths this week, and it's really paying off. Like he basically navigated through these matches quite easily without even taking any damage.
That was pretty incredible. It's been a while since I've seen a Daria deck, do that, right?
Right.
Yeah. Daria hasn't done that in a while. Mystic Ring really, really helped with that.
Icy Stars with the Mystic Ring. And that's actually a really interesting, mechanic that is introduced with Mystic Ring, because previously, when you draw into your Daria, you're just kind of like,
Oh, well.
breaking tables in half and just,
Yeah.
I mean, there's so many ways that Daria can go wrong, right? I mean,
Or like when you top deck an Ogler the turn you want to play your Daria,
Yeah.
you know what I mean? Or
Yep.
a Blade Mage, like it just gives
Yeah.
you so many options. And the fact that it only costs 1 means it's not going to change the casting cost of your Daria at all.
yeah. And it's spell boost, which was fantastic.
Right.
I mean, he was basically rolling into what could have been considered some of the best possible situations that Daria can hope for. But definitely very cool. 2 very aggressive wins. Icy Stars will move on on the winner's side. And let's take a look at where Piao goes to and how Icy Stars moves on here. So he's going to be in the upper finals, meaning that if Icy Stars wins this particular match that he's on here, then he is guaranteed to be in Season 3. And that will be very interesting because it's a different ballgame once you get into the round robin, as we've seen, right? So we'll see. I'm actually interested to see if Icy Stars makes it into the season, how he kind of adapts and deals with that. But we've got Underwear versus Red, and this is a kind of another big match as well. Red is a pretty prominent member of the
Big names.
community. Yeah, and Underwear, of course, a previous, Season 2 competitor. So this is going to be tough, and I know that Red has, constantly participated and kind of competed in a lot of these tournaments previous and even seasons previous. But he's never quite found that success and has never been able to kind of, win it into the bigger and higher stages here. So we'll see if he can make it in, and I'm kind of interested to see what decks he's fielding, especially because he immerses himself so much in kind of the deck building aspect of it and tries to stay on the forefront all the time. So
Plus, he's got a really great team to work behind him. You know what I mean? Of course, we already see Icy Stars in here. I'm sure he tested a lot with him, and they're doing well.
Absolutely. So, after seeing that, let's talk a little bit about Piao, because I feel like, obviously he got rushed down, right? There wasn't a lot of opportunity to see how his decks played out. But how do you feel about the Ether of the White Wing deck? What are its strengths? What are its weaknesses? How do you think it fits in? If it crumbles to aggro that is that kind of powerful, what do you think is the way to kind of justify bringing this deck as one of your 3?
It's good in the sense that if it doesn't get beaten by turn 5 or 6, it generally has a really good chance to take over the game. You know what I mean? Like, control decks will always suffer if they're just dead by turn 5, right? Like, if you don't get the exact right answers to your opponent's aggressive draw, you can just fall over. It's maybe just not the time for it. It's a great deck, but not against a lineup like what Icy Stars brought.
So we'll keep it in the back of our heads and kind of remember it, but maybe not the time, not the opponent that Piao wanted to run into, for sure.
Right, exactly.
So we'll see. Okay, I'm gonna ask you guys a question here. We've seen Underwear play, and we know about Mana Surge Red. What is your predictions as we get rolling into this game here? Exodium, who is your pick?
I've got to go with Underwear because he's tried and tested. You know what I mean?
I want to go with Underwear.
You can still go with Underwear. It's not to say that Red's bad or anything. We just haven't seen a lot of him, right? Like, this is the first time, like you said, that he's been here. So I'm interested to see what he can do. But I think with Underwear's experience, I think he's got the edge here.
All right, well, the odds are in favor of Underwear from the caster's desk. We'll see. I'll throw 1 vote for Red just to, make it 2-1. But
there we go.
We'll jump into the game and see it, And I'm pretty sure, like you said, he's surrounded by a lot of really strong, teammates that can help practice and train, and he's a big thinker himself. So, Canada versus USA, and it looks like the 2 decks available is going to be Runecraft and Sword versus Dragoncraft and Shadow. We've got a lot of Demon Eaters, but what is the mulligan strategy here for each of the players?
Sure. So at the first start of things, we see that this is a more mid-rangey deck from Underwear, right? We see the 1/4 with Ward, we see Lurchin Corpses and Belinus, kind of like a different maybe mid-range options that you normally see in a Shadow. And his hand looks pretty good. And MS Red's hand, playing D shift over here, his hand is good, except it's minus a D shift. So, Envy, talk to me about what you want to see as a D shift player right now against this type of shadow deck.
All right, yeah. So I mean, we talked about this. We found D shift, nice. We talked about this, I think, when we both said we were playing Atomy on ladder.
Right.
You can if you spot Belinus, you're 90% against the Atomy deck. So, Red needs to be finding ways to trade to the board. He needs to get followers off the board to make Atomy less onlineable. Atomy less easy to put online.
Yeah,
if that's a way to say
less onlineable. I like that.
Yeah, less onlineable. And then he needs to find Fiery Embrace ASAP. If Atomy comes down and you have no Fiery Embrace, you basically have lost the game. So, yeah.
And as
well,
we
Wind
haven't
Blast
seen
can
a lot,
get there, but
yes, Wind Blast can definitely get there. But as we said, we haven't seen Atomy yet. We're super excited to finally get to see it. The reason we haven't seen it in past is because it really hasn't been very consistent, like drawing your Atomies or getting to a late game to where you can actually win the game, all that kind of stuff. All that went out the window with Starforged Legends. You have Staircase to Paradise, which we've seen in a bevy of decks now. And you have Deathly Tyrant to kind of finish off after you've generated, like you said, you've drawn your entire deck, you've generated a bunch of shadows, and now you have a big outlet for your shadows at the end of the game to kind of just force through up to 13 damage, up to 15 with an Evo point.
Yeah, it's absolutely insane, bonkers the reach the deck has, and also like an outlier that I don't think gets enough credit really is the I think it's a Peacock and Drelphus, the 2-play point 1/2. If you evolve it into a 2/3, it gives every follower in your hand last words draw a card, and if you pop 4 of those with Atomy, then you just drew 4 cards and played an 8/8.
Right, exactly.
So
you're literally just
really good.
Yeah. It's wonderful. And Staircase to Heaven basically just gives you the rest of the fuel you need. Like popping that with Atomy even, unbelievable, because then you're just up another 4 cards the next turn and you're just like going crazy. And if you overdraw, you don't mind that with this deck because it just builds extra shadows to get your Deathly Tyrant out there faster.
Exactly, yeah. Basically, if you love insane amounts of value, Atomy feels that. Atomy feels like that.
That's right, especially with cards like Haunted House. If you draw Atomies, right. And cards like Haunted House, 1-play point amulet with 3 countdown that says whenever one of your followers dies on your turn, you get a 1/1 Ghost with Storm. Just like lots of early game value, again, just helps you card draw with Soul Conversion and Demon Eater and still get value after doing so. Very streamlined deck from what it used to be. So I'm sorry I'm gushing over it, but like Atomy's like one of my favorite decks right now and I love it.
It's pretty fun to play. You know, I thought that it would feel very high rolly. It would feel very this could just not happen most of the time, but when you play Demon Eater, Soul Conversion, and Drelphus, you play so many cycling cards. It honestly does happen pretty often that you get this. I mean, you have to draw Atomy, of course, but, you do get them pretty often.
So let's talk about Red for a moment. So he's gotten his D-Shift. He has a lot of answers, actually, to this board with his Angelic Snipe, Wind Blast, all that kind of stuff. And he definitely has his Wind Blast big enough to be able to deal with an Atomy if it does come out anytime soon. Realistically, it's just about, is that Deathly Tyrant going to be lethal fast enough to kind of take over this game? Because we see Underwear didn't really get a lot of his card draw options. He doesn't have Atomy. He doesn't have, basically any filter cards right now. So he's kind of stuck.
Ooh, we drew a Sarid one as well. That's more of a useful card once Atomy has come down and died. But right. Yeah, Underwear's hand is just absolutely abysmal. He's doing all the opposite things of what we were saying the strengths of Atomy were. He's just not drawing any card draw.
Right, no card draw, no Atomy, so he's kind of just sitting here with little tiny follower aggro. Expending a Deathly Tyrant now. Feels like he's not going to get to the 20 shadows. I don't mind this play at all.
Right. I mean, D-Shift is coming up on 6 play points. This D-Shift is also, interestingly, teched. I mean, Angelic Snipe is something we used to play in D-Shift, but not really anymore. And on top of Golem Assault and normal Chimera, Red doesn't like followers being on board, clearly.
Right. And that makes sense, especially in this meta. If you're going to play D-Shift in this meta, you got to have answers to even stuff like Quick Bladers on the early turns. Otherwise, they're just going to deal too much damage to you over time.
Quick Bladers, even I think Powell's Fencer, the 2-1 that buffs a follower when it enters. Demon Eater finally finds some card draw, but that's a little bit too late, man.
It is. This is rough because you want to Evo this to clear board, but you also need to draw cards. So
exactly.
All right, here we go.
Now we're cooking. We're also building shadows, so
that's right. Very important because if that number gets to 20, another Deathly Tyrant can end the game.
Finds a staircase, although at this point I think you just kind of want to play staircase for the full enhance of 5.
Right, and I think just soul converting into something more relevant, building more shadows, slightly better here.
You do have to consider, though, if you soul convert this turn, go to 16 shadows, play the staircase for the full 5 next turn. You don't get the minions or the followers immediately. He's actually going to opt to play staircase now.
Interesting. Okay, so realistically, that's just saying staircase isn't really going to do anything for a while, but I want to get value out of my followers. Yeah.
Yeah, probably.
So this is a question now that, because you're a D-Shift player, and I know we talked about this last season, but the Chimera in D-Shift, how does it feel to you? Do you play it? Why do you play it? That kind of stuff. Talk to us about that.
Oh, I cut that thing a long time. I hate regular Chimera in Dimension Shift. I think it's honestly quite bad. I can see the justification. Atomy drawn finally. I can see the justification for it in this meta with aggro and stuff. You know, sometimes it's effectively a Fiery Embrace, sometimes, but not really. It doesn't really kill Prime Jack Keeper. Yeah, I don't prefer it, honestly. Red, however, he's getting really close to lethal. I think he's basically just got it next turn. Trail of Light into, yeah. He's got, no, he only has 2 Chimeras and double shifts.
2 Chimeras, yep. Unfortunately, not as big as Flame Destroyers. There's a Flame Destroyer.
Speak of the devil.
But still costs 10, so that's not coming down anytime soon. So realistically, I feel like Underwear has a good shot here, only because if he can top deck that Deathly Tyrant.
Yeah, he's got one more turn to find it.
Yeah.
Magic Missile. Although if Red actually bounces that staircase.
That's true. Bouncing the staircase is huge.
Okay.
Oh, is going for it. Is also playing the giant Chimera.
Yeah, he's got both Chimeras.
I'm sorry, I said Deathly Tyrant off the top would win. Of course, only 15 shadows, not completely lethal, so it would take 2 turns. But yeah, it's looking like Red knows he's got it.
Yeah. He boosted the Flame Destroyer with that Sorcery Cache. I don't think he had it before that Sorcery Cache, actually. I wasn't paying attention to the cost of the actual Flame Destroyer, but Giant Chimera, solid 6 damage.
That's right. We get to see the nice animation with a nice little overkill from Red here, as D-Shifts are wont to do. D-Shift players and Roach players, I gotta say, are basically 2 of the types of players that will just play out their entire hand, whether they win or lose, just because they can.
Oh, yeah. Of course. Because especially if you're against like an aggro deck. Oh, yeah. And you're like 1 life, right? Oh, my gosh. Yes. I am going to make that Giant Chimera and put you to -27. You best believe it.
You tried to kill me. You almost got there. You thought you got there, but not quite.
So it'll be interesting to see if Underwear re-opts to play Atomy Shadow. Just give it a... Okay, it doesn't.
Against Sword, I think this is a nice little swap just to try to get a win under your belt and then go back to Atomy. Because Atomy can realistically win against any deck. It's just highly dependent on its draw. Whereas I think a PDK deck has a pretty good shot against a Sword deck.
I think PDK's got a good shot against everything.
That's fair. I mean, that's why we see most players playing it.
Yeah, it's why everybody has it.
It makes it really hard at the beginning of the season too, because Sword's really strong. So is PDK. We've talked about him a bunch. It's really hard to pick which one you're going to ban out. And I really feel like it lends to the players that actually build their full lineup to just be good in that environment, right? I mean, obviously that seems a little arbitrary to say, but it really matters here in these first weeks.
Exactly. I mean, it's kind of like akin to the old days when almost every player had Dragon Shadow, so you kind of had to build your Dragon Shadows to be Dragon Shadows, except now there's a ban, so you can ban Dragon or Sword and then build your lineup to attack the other one that you are planning not to ban, so.
Right. And I feel like Sword still to me seems like this huge wild card that I just don't want to play against with any deck.
Oh yeah.
Like, it's just so much damage, you know what I mean? We've talked about it. You've seen pretty much every iteration between today and yesterday already, just with, Council of Card Knights, Round Table Assembly, Juliets, Quick Bladers, Novice Troopers, like every single thing you can just throw at your opponent's face. It's absolutely insane.
Sword has a very little downtime. Almost everything they play is online immediately, and that is really scary. Very, very scary. If you were playing in tournaments, you would ban Sword 100% over Dragon?
Unless I could find a particular lineup that could just crush Sword, then yes,
Yeah.
but I don't know if it's possible to realistically beat a deck that can beat you by turn 5 or turn 6, realistically with 3 different decks, right? So
Right.
I think I would ban Sword pretty much all of the time right now. Even though PDK is strong, it's much easier to beat.
Yep. I agree completely. I think Prime Dragon Keeper is a it's not the prime example of a fair deck, but it's the prime example of a
Right.
strong deck that you can beat for sure.
Right. Right.
Sword
if you can
just
clear
randomly
boards and you can present a ward here or there to block out a good Forte turn and or a good Zeus turn, depending on what they're playing. I really feel like you can play around PDK. I mean, obviously they're gonna have one good turn, right? Especially if they have like a double PDK on like 8 or 9, they're like PDK, PDK, follower, 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 follower. But if you can wipe the board,
Let's not try and trigger the viewers here. Let's
right, right.
PDK follower.
Right, exactly. But Fortes and Genesis Dragons or Zeus is really all the deck has is gas after the PDKs are gone. The rest of their deck is just, small followers. So deal with the PDKs, you have a pretty good shot.
Exactly. Whereas Aggro Sword, on the other hand, they have a lot of gas. They're pretty much gassed on deck, as far as like Council of Card Knights and Round Table can go. So yeah.
So I like this play here. This essentially gets Underwear up to the overflow that he needs. It allows him to play his Ivory Dragon with PDK value, clear out this entire board, and this is kind of where we're going to see PDK start to shift the match if it can. However, we see in Red's hand a lot of value.
He does, but I mean, Underwear can he can play that Dragoon Scyther and take care of the same board.
He's got to find time to win pretty much right now, because this Novice Trooper is already lethal next turn.
That is true. Yeah, that is true, yeah. I mean, he can Draconic Fervor into Scyther.
Yes, he has to Fervor here.
To clear the board. That does clear the board, right? Yeah. With PDK? Yeah, he can do it.
Okay, so he knows.
A second PDK. PDK triggers that.
Now the question here is, do you take the gamble by playing the Scyther first, or do you opt for a more value-oriented play?
Taking a gamble at 7 life? I don't know.
I mean, the gamble realistically makes your resources a lot better, because then basically you're building up for a Forte combo next turn with Erd now that he has it.
Right.
But if you don't, then you're losing some damage this turn, maybe not being able to get to lethal next turn. So this is a very important decision for Underwear right here.
It is, yeah. I mean, he's playing this very safe, yeah. It's also not possible for Sword to do 7 with 6 play points. There's no combination, I don't think, that does that for 6 play points. So, oh, never mind. Round Table pulling double Juliet Evolved Click Blader would do it, but he can't. He can't do that. So, yeah, like Underwear can take a calculated risk here and know that he won't die probably. So.
The thing though that I'm thinking of is not dying for a turn is good, but being able to set up lethal very important right now, and I don't think he gave himself an outlet to do that.
Well, I mean, he can just set up Fervor again, and then just summon Dragoon Scyther. He can keep playing defensively and just whittle him down instead of setting up a lethal.
That's true.
If he doesn't feel safe.
The closer it gets to turn 9, though, we always know that Albert's right off the top. So if he plays defensively,
Albert's only 6 though. His evolves are gone now, so
that's true.
Only
that's
6.
True. Only 6.
7 here. Yeah, only 6. Although Ephemera and Novice Trooper coming down next turn, it's not gonna matter now.
What a wonderful draw. Sybil's a great draw here. Doesn't
Sybil
need to play it.
Your Majesty.
Might opt not to, just in favor of clearing the board, as a matter of fact. Because
well, if he
7
plays
life
Sybil,
is
he
pretty
just
healthy
takes 3
right
anyway. Yeah.
Right.
So.
Okay.
Care to touch?
So decides to go for a little bit of gamble here first.
Care to touch?
Wins the gamble? Not wins the gamble.
No, he doesn't.
Right.
No, he doesn't. He
wanted to kill the
game.
Bane, I imagine. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, 50-50 there.
Your Majesty.
It's funny too, because I made mention of it yesterday, but when I was looking at the card set before the sec out release, Dragon, what's the rest of her name? Dragon Rearer Matilda, I thought was never going to be a playable card. I'm like, why would you not just play Fire Lizard instead? And then
Yeah.
all of a sudden, Prime Dragon Keeper came around and it's like, duh.
Because she triggers
Duh.
PDK twice. Duh.
Twice. Hello.
Duh.
Oh my goodness. And we can see Council of Card Knights really doing a lot of work. Like, more work than a single card should be able to do, and that's why it's so good.
It's definitely a very powerful card, but unfortunately for Red, double PDK is just
Yeah.
going to be too much for him.
The correct playing of Fervor on several turns in a row basically just kept Underwear just healthy enough not to die to the aggro that Red can present. So even it up here. I like Underwear's play this game.
Definitely playing against Sword, for the past forever. This is like Storm has been Sword's plan forever, so you kind of know their
Right.
thresholds of damage. Like like the upper bounds of what they could possibly do to you with an evolve. So I really like the skirting of the health there. It was really well played.
Yes, it was. As long as and that's actually a really big note for new viewers out there. If you're playing against Sword, learn what their damage dealers are on each consecutive turn, because like Envy said, their game plan's pretty straightforward. So if you know how much damage they can deal to you on a given turn, you can play around it if you have some life gain in your deck, which we saw Underwear do to a T. So very
Which
good
you probably
strategy.
should have in your deck with the aggro ladder. So
Sure, exactly. Life gain right now
Alright,
is
here we
more
go.
important than
Atomy.
You must die.
Oh boy,
come on,
That's a
high
terrible-
rolls.
that's
Let's
a terrible
go.
hand.
All right, pulling the roulette wheel. Pulling the slot wheel. Let's go. Come on, throw it back. Let's see something better. Ooh, okay.
That's better.
Okay. Could be good.
He gets a Skull Beast here. It's
Definitely
whatever.
wants to find some one drops.
Yeah, Red on the other hand he's got the hand. He's got it going
He's got
on.
the
so,
gasolina. Yeah.
yeah.
Peregrine, not what you want to see this early.
No, she's not something you want to see.
Interesting to play the Lurching Corpse first here instead of the Andriolphus. It's not going to matter much because next turn's kind of going to play out the same, except he's not going to be able to attack with that Lurching Corpse where he could have with the Andriolphus. And mitigating as much damage as you possibly can against these sword decks is pretty high priority.
Finds a Skull Beast and a second corpse.
So this essentially is allowing for an extra 2 damage that didn't need to be there this turn. Essentially, last turn if Andriolphus was played, it could have attacked into the Palace Fence or Lurching Corpse freshly played with a Soul Conversion to finish off the board. So let's see
Right,
if this
since it would have
extra
been at 3 play
matters.
points. Yeah.
Yep. See if this extra 2 damage matters. It usually does, but hopefully
usually does,
it
yeah.
doesn't lose in that.
Oh, Bone Chimera, but he already used his not wasted, but he
Soul.
already played his Soul Conversion, which is very good at popping those.
That's right, and this cannot present a board. And for those of you who don't know, Atomy is a 9-cost 8/8. The reason why the deck is built around it is because if you have 4 other followers in play already, it costs 0. And then when it comes into play, it will destroy every other thing that you have in play, amulets and followers included. All of their last words go off and all that crazy stuff. So, but you have to get to a board of 4 followers or 4 amulets.
Yikes. And it's probably not going to matter since Red knows what Underwear's plan is, and Red has the board. And actually triggered Perseus. I don't think I've ever seen a Perseus
The
trigger.
first time I've seen that so far.
Yeah, I've never seen that.
Very nice defensive option because if there wasn't something like a Soul Squasher in hand, very hard to get around.
Well,
It's nice
we
to
can
see
Soul
Perseus with weapon,
Squasher.
though.
They're so fresh.
He can trigger Atomy this turn.
Yeah, I think that's going to be the plan. It will also spawn the skeletons from the Chimera. Okay, going with the extra value play. I like this. Trying to clear as much of the board as he can.
Mm-hmm. Well, you know you're getting hit in the face by Albert next turn, so...
Yeah. You're hoping not, but you're thinking they probably have it.
0 play point 8/8. Extremely awesome.
Yes. And now with 10-10 after Evo. So the cool thing about Atomy is, even though it looks like it's losing for a while, a 10 power follower ends the game pretty quickly if you can play defensively around the next couple turns. And honestly, it can trade really well too. It just sits there and it's a big trade stick.
Oh my gosh,
Ooh.
that was disgusting.
Won't be long now.
Red whipped that top deck on him for it.
Yes. And he didn't even waste a second after he drew it. Not a second went by, flipped.
Aw. A second Atomy.
And unfortunately, there's not 19 damage that Underwear has access to, so Red, again, showing what Sword can do. Just unbelievable deck, and this is why I would ban it. Like, it's just so powerful right now.
Yeah, I mean, you never summon if you never summon a ward, it just keeps hitting you in the face, and you know,
Right?
20 life is not a lot. So
Now, I will say that new mid shadow, and honestly, yesterday with Best Marmot's deck, that mid shadow deck that he built, I played that on the ladder this morning and last night. Very good against Sword. Very good against Sword. Just having access to wards in your deck with the new card from Starforged Legends, it adds a new dimension to the deck. It gives you so much extra value. Saris, of course, as well. Just so many things you can be doing.
Excellent work. I'm coming to you.
and he's trying. He's definitely trying his hardest.
Yep. Final Atomy wipes out the
That's
board.
how it's done.
Hoping no
So
Albert,
that's
please.
how it's done. Red with the BM over here, and Albert.
Novice Trooper lethal too, so just had it even if he didn't have it.
A little blood won't stop me.
多少の手応えはあった
What a win.
There it is. Mana Surge's Red will continue on the winner's end of the bracket and defeat Underwear. That's not the last we've seen of him yet. Underwear will go down to the loser's bracket. And this is important because now we have a team kill in the upper finals. We have Icy Stars versus Red. So we'll see whose lineup is a little bit better. And what's interesting is Icy Stars actually prides himself on being a swordcraft player. He really likes that particular craft ever since Season 1, right? It was something that Icy Stars played a lot. So with Swordcraft being so strong right now, I wonder if it's something that Red's just going to say, no, let's not deal with that matchup at all. You know, and just ban the
Almost
sword out.
positive Red is going to ban that sword list. It is the most
Probably.
aggressive sword list out of any of the ones that I've seen so far.
We'll see. The Daria deck is looking pretty scary as well. And I don't know. We'll see. It feels like a lot of the meta, and like you mentioned at the start of the tournament, lies in aggression. So maybe Icy Stars will be able to leverage that. But let's take a look at the bracket, and we'll be getting to that particular match in a little bit. But I believe we're going to be jumping down to the losers bracket and watching Underwear versus CPV Fantasy next. Icy Stars versus Mana Surge Red, they both have a very good chance of making it into Season 3 because all they have to do is just win this match. Whoever wins it is in the season, and they're very well positioned to take first place in this qualifier. And whoever loses still has a very good chance of making it to Season 3 because they will be into the lower finals. But the journey now is a little more complex here for Fantasy and Underwear and Piao. There's just a little bit more of a distance that they have to go. And we'll have to see how that journey plays out for them. But what did you think of the Atomy list? Of course, the aggression on Red's side was very, very strong. But I always felt like it was just one step away. It felt like it was just one little step away from making the dream work. How do you review its performance so far, Exodium?
Sure. So the build was actually kind of interesting to me because he's running a little bit different tech than I would run in my deck. Like he's running the 3-play.14 with Ward, maybe to help out with the aggressive starts, that kind of thing. He's playing Carried Wind for like late game combo, but he's not playing Usher of Sticks to like get his Atomies and his Deathly Tyrants back at the end of the game. He's not playing as much of the early game card draw and amulets as I would play. Like I like to stuff my deck full of it just so I can combo out Atomy as early as possible. With Staircase to Heaven as it is right now, it's literally so easy just to keep going, but you have to mulligan super aggressively, and you do have to get the good hands, and against aggro decks, you can't really afford to have those missteps in the early game like we saw happen. So it's really hard, regardless of your deck composition, when you're playing against an aggro deck, to not have the Atomy out on like turn 3 or turn 4, just presenting all this huge damage.
What do you think about, I mean, what changes would you throw in there, MV, in your own personal list, or how did you feel about the tech cards that were brought by Underwear?
I actually agree with Spartoy Soldier. I like it. The 1/4 ward for 3. I like that card a lot, but I disagree pretty heavily with Ceridwen. I think that Usher of Sticks is just usually better. I mean, she uses shadows, but whatever. You have a lot in that list, and I agree. Mulliganing heavy for Staircase is pretty important. Staircase is a very, very good card. And you kind of just need it. If you don't Staircase or Evolve Androlphus, you're just probably not going to win. Because if they kill the Atomy, you lose. So,
Right.
yeah.
Well, we'll see. Maybe Underwear will adjust his play a little bit in the lower end, and I'm sure he's thinking about it a lot. I'm not familiar with how many people have been researching Atomy and just playing all the lines of play here, but certainly Disastra is probably testing it very desperately.
Yeah, clearly, Exo has it in
Yes.
his cave. He just practices Atomy all day in his cave.
That's right.
Excellent.
Atomy. I've been clamoring for Atomy for so long, and it's finally good, and I love it. I'm playing it all the time. It's great.
Well, it looks like we're all happy. We've got Forest, we've got Atomy. You're
Yeah.
happy. Envy's happy. Aya's definitely
PTP,
happy.
yeah. PTP
Yeah.
Forest.
Yeah, PTP is there as well. Yeah, actually, we haven't. Have we seen Forest already?
We didn't get to see the PTP Forest list, but it
Yeah,
was
that's right.
in the lineup, so it got banned out. Or no, it didn't get banned out. He just didn't
It
get
didn't
the
get banned, we
opportunity
just
to play it
didn't
because
see it,
his Haven deck lost twice. So
Right.
yeah.
Well,
Mhm.
maybe in the lose end, we'll get to see that. But we're getting the next match set up here. I'm eager to see which of the Mana Surge members are going to make it out, or if we're going to have a tournament where 2 Mana Surge members make it into the season. That'll be insane. I really felt like Mana Surge was very under. Well, maybe not. They had Jay-Z and Noah, right, in season
Yeah.
2. So it just. I guess it was in comparison to how much Mana Surge seemed to be plastering season 1. It didn't feel like they were quite as dominant, but good
Yeah.
start. Good start here in week 1. We'll see. Let's talk a little bit about the World Grand Prix, as these players are taking a little bit more time to set up their match and get settled and make sure that their bans and their strategies are all correct. But the World Grand Prix is going to be happening December 23rd and 24th. That's going to happen in Tokyo, Japan. 120,000 US dollars. You know what you guys should do? Even if you're not competing, buy a ticket out to Japan. Come out to Japan on the 23rd and 24th. And
Buy a
check out the
ticket
World
to
Grand Prix.
Japan.
Come meet us. We'd love to see you there.
Just go buy one.
Come see us.
You know, how expensive tickets to Japan are right now.
Come see
on.
it. Hey, do you know what
It's
the
worth
cost
it,
of this
though.
experience is?
That's
that,
right.
That
Priceless.
far outweighs the cost of the plane ticket. But I understand. You know, the budget life. But super exciting. If you guys can make it out there, we'd love to see you all there. And top tier Shadowverse players are going to be attending and from all different regions. And if you can't make it out there, definitely tune in and watch online. We'd love to see all the viewers in the stream going crazy about every little thing that's happening. And which region do you think now? Japan has 12 players, right? So it's a little bit weighted there, and just in terms of the statistics end of it.
Yeah.
But what region currently do you think is the best suited to win the World Grand Prix?
Japan.
Japan.
I mean,
Japan.
Japan has had the longest competitive scene, and they've had bigger tournaments with better players produced and all that kind of stuff over time. They have 12 players going into it, so they have the best chance. 100% they have the best chance. But I think this is going to be the biggest stage and the biggest Shadowverse showdown that we've ever seen. This is basically every single region out there, all the best players. We don't know what to expect, right? Like this is basically just a big can of worms of what's actually out there in Shadowverse, and I think this will really help define what the world looks like in terms of Shadowverse. So this is not only the biggest event, but like the coolest event that's ever happened for Shadowverse. I can't wait for it, and maybe like you said, Rady, maybe it is worth it just to fly out there. Forget all the expenses. Just go see this. If you love Shadowverse, this is going to be one of the biggest things.
I think
that's
instead
gonna happen.
of buying a plane ticket to Japan, they should try to open Daria with that money. instead, because I can't get her to save my life.
Yep.
And
Yep.
you know, honestly, a plane ticket to Japan, if you put that money in and don't get Daria, then God bless your soul. I'm so sorry for you. But that's
I might-
probably going to be.
I might
worth
just
it.
do that. I know Exo wants I know Exo wants Aldos. So-
Oh my goodness, do I want?
I want
Aldos.
Daria.
The
I
evolve
can't-
mechanic. What is okay? So what does new Daria do? I know what
I kinda want Daria as
Dragon
well.
does now.
Daria has voice lines, and
Yeah.
she has a really cool evolve mechanic, like a really cool evolve.
What does
animation.
she do?
She like, you know, like they come out of the porch or whatever, and she has like a little portal thing, and she like, I think she spins her staff. I'm not 100% sure on that. That may be Erasmus. Maybe getting them confused. But I've only seen
I
her a
can
few
see how they
times.
could
She's
be
actually
confused.
Yeah.
she's so
Yeah.
rare. Everyone has Aldos. I see so many Aldoses, but I don't see any Darias on ladder or anything.
Yeah.
I
But
don't have Aldos.
yeah, I don't know. I want her.
Hey, if you have Aldos or Daria, tweet at Shadowverse Game and just show
Just
off
so
your
many.
Aldos
How
or
much you
Daria.
love life right now.
In
Just
fact,
playing
They're
those
so
classes.
good.
Tweet a picture of the Aldos leader with the Daria emblem, or vice versa.
Wow,
Tweet.
Yeah.
Show us your moves. I want to see
Yeah,
all
if you have both, just basically show off essentially.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know.
If I get the Daria leader, I'm playing Runecraft for this expansion. I'm gonna play Daria. I'm gonna play D Shift. I'm gonna play Taboo and Levi I'm gonna do all that.
Yeah.
If
Dirt
I get
Lord,
the
okay.
Dragon Craft leader, I'm gonna figure out a way to Violet.
Yes, there we go. Yeah.
I will destroy
this.
you. I will come down to California.
You still have
And I
that
will-
thing?
I
I
still
will
have
bang your
this.
head against the desk
Bang my.
multiple
I already,
times.
Down with Dragoncraft.
well, I guess that's not a bad punishment. I already banged my head against the desk, just normally.
Aw.
That's just what happens when I play Shadowverse because I'm so dumb. But we're still waiting on some technical issues here with the players. I'm actually not super sure what's holding them up, but they're figuring it out.
Right, Rainy, talk to me about what you're playing right now. What do you like about Forest now? I know, like, I helped you build some Forest decks last time it came out there. What do you like now?
I like, actually, I won a fantastic game. And this is in no way indicative of what any good player does in any game because I'm down in, the boonies in terms of ranks. But I had a fantastic game where somehow I managed to get 2 White Wolves on one turn, trade into a 4/5, both of them died off, and on the next turn I got a Silver Bolt and an Elephant at 0 cost, and I won the game, and I had 1 health left. 1 health!
That's pretty epic.
It was against the Control Blood deck. So the guy
Man,
was
what
real
it would be like to be back in B rank again.
Yeah.
Oh my
That's,
god.
that's pretty sweet.
Hey,
I was literally just gonna say, like, that's pretty sweet, and also I understand why you're not winning games based on what you just told me is in your deck. So spot on, Rainy.
White
Spot
wolf,
on.
bolt, elephant all on the same.
Yep. Hey, I like the Silver Bolt and the Elephant in there. I think it's super cool. It gives me
Hey.
It's like variety is a
fun.
spice of life, First of
Yeah.
all, I've gotten rid of all the roaches. I've cleaned up house,
What?
Sprayed the anti-roach spray all over the place. So there's no more
You're not a
roaches.
forest player then. You're not a true forest player.
I've become an
You don't play
artist. I draw cards, that's what I do all day. I just draw
That's
cards
cool.
for 90%
yeah.
of the game. And then I hoard all the cards in my hand and I play things like Silver Bolt, White Wolf, and Cassiopeia. And that's my game. And I have 1 drop of Elf Queen because Elf Queen is really pretty. And
I like the reasoning. The reasonings are my favorite. So hold on, Rainy. Let's go down the list here. Why are you playing Elephant right now? Why do you play that card in your deck?
because Elephant is new.
Okay.
Why are you playing Silver
That's
Bolt?
fine, really.
That's
I like
fine. That answer is fine.
Yeah.
That's acceptable.
What do I play Silver Bolt? Because the sound is so satisfying. The thump of
Oh
Silver Bolt.
yeah.
Yep.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
These are good.
Yeah. I like it. Oh, it's Underwear vs. Fantasy. CPV. Now, CPV is another clan that I would love to see kind of make it into Season 3. And they're playing... Wow, interesting. So it's going to be Wizards of Oz, Dirt Rune, and Aggro Sword, which is, I feel like, a combination that we've seen a lot more today than in EU. I feel like in EU, people... we're not going to the rune options quite as much, but very prominent here today in Underwear running Sword Shadow. So, take it away, guys.
Absolutely. So we didn't see very much rune at all yesterday, and we see it in a lot of players' lineups this time, and basically different variations. We see Daria, D-Shift, we see Dirt Rune, so players liking their rune over here on the West. What do you think about rune right now? And if you were playing rune and you didn't play D-Shift, what do you think would be your option?
And I didn't play D-Shift? Ooh.
Yeah.
Probably something close to what Fantasy's playing with Carl and Taboo. I like Earth Rune with Carl in it. Carl feels so nice. Such a strong, powerful 3-drop for a defensive Earth Rune deck.
Absolutely. We talked a lot about Carl yesterday, actually. Not to be confused with the guy from Aqua Teen Hunger Force. Okay, this guy's way better, way cleaner. He heals you. He feels good. But yeah, it's a much better 3-drop option than Dirt Rune ever had before, and it does just so much. And especially, like we said yesterday, if you open up with a Magic Illusionist, it just presents this game plan that's just really hard to deal with in the early game.
Oh yeah, absolutely bonkers. And I also do want to clarify that Underwear is actually not playing Aggro Sword. He's playing not quite Commander Craft, but he's playing he's got Lux in here, and he's got like Fang Blades and Unsheath Blades. He's playing like a mid-rangey sort of, I don't know, underwear sword, I'm sure. I honestly don't know what to call it, really.
I actually really like the mid-sword list. They're not as explosive as the aggro variants, of course, but they definitely have new dimensions to it. Like you mentioned, Unsheathed Blade. We haven't seen that card in competitive play yet, but it's one of the first cards that I actually played in Sword when the set came out because it just does so much. Like playing a Fangblade Slayer on 5 feels really good.
Oh yeah, absolutely insane.
You can get some crazy turns that Sword never had access to. Like It can even open up options like, you know, Leonidas or Alexander, which of course not many people play. But, you know, on turn 5, that just, it can go crazy. Like, imagine putting out a Leonidas on turn 5 with an Unsheathed Blade into a Bane or something. And then you're just like, okay, turn 6 and above, let's go. I've got Leonidas Amulet, it's time to rock.
Yeah, little known fact for most players if they don't play Take 2, Leonidas's amulet he leaves behind, called Leonidas Resolve, is probably the single most broken amulet in the entire game. It's extremely powerful.
So what it does is it gives any follower you play Rush, pretty good. Also gives it +3/+3. Pretty good. pretty good. Works
Pretty
very
darn
well
good.
with the sword cards like, you know, Council of Card Knights, Alwita's Command, you know, Round Table Assembly, whatever you call them. You know what I mean? Like, it just
Laurel
it gives so
Fencer.
much value.
Works great with Laurel Fencer also.
Yeah,
Mars.
that's true.
And Front Guard General.
Very good draw here.
Evolving the Lux to get rid of a... that's interesting.
I like this
Get
play
rid
a
of Halo
lot.
here.
We've talked about this against Rune. If you can just basically negate the big damage spikes they can deal to you, it makes it really hard for them to win the long game. Like, it's when you're like sub 10 against Dirt Rune where you're just like, oh crap. Like, now they can actually just finish me off with any number of different things. But sitting at 20, playing very defensive here, I like it.
That's true. It's true. Front Guard General is going to hurt pretty bad here if he goes for it.
Yeah, that Mutagenic Bolt's going to take care of that quite easily. Decides not to.
Not enough yet.
I think I like the
Like
Mars
it.
General here. You take care of the 3/3 Vault here, get rid of the damage.
Getting to see Mars actually get really good effect here, keeping that Geno alive, nice and healthy.
The name's Levi.
Master Mage Levi popping the board. Underwear had to know that was coming, though. You know, Dirtman's got a bunch of cards in hand. One of those is going to be a Master Mage or Taboos or something, so...
And we're closing it on turn 9. Fantasy not quite at the 6th threshold that Underwear wants.
Ooh. This will be a perfectly fine trade for Fantasy here. Mutagenic Bolt for Front Guard
Yeah.
General.
Very good. Being able to push 6 damage, 7 with the Rat on the following turn. Also putting himself in kind of a weird spot, though. If that Rat survives and Underwear can deal with this board,
We
then
could have
that
killed the
rat
rat. He didn't. He chose not to,
That's
but he
true.
could have killed it.
That's true. It could drop him down to 6 or something like that and kind of help finish off the game here.
It's a very awkward rat because you kind of want to keep it to do that 1 damage, but
Right.
you definitely can't.
Melee at lightning speed.
Albert for not board control. There's no way Albert's for board control here, but he's gonna lose the game if he doesn't. So, oh, okay, all right.
For full board control, and without any evos, it really puts the onus on Fantasy to have a removal spell for this Albert because that double
He's fine.
attack. Yeah, Claws
He's
doesn't go
totally
right.
fine. Double Master Mage
Of-
Levi. It's completely fine.
And Professor of Taboos, of course, not needing an evo to kill this Albert, doing its Earthright dance. And I think this is the turn. I think Underwear does not have access to exactly what he needs here. He's going to try to for some board clear. But there's just so much value in Fantasy's hand. I don't know if you can get around this much value.
Well, Mars does prevent the ward from being one shot. Although he
The
can just
Taboos
attack
is still in
first.
play. Yeah.
Okay.
I like it.
But
That's
yeah, it's-
basically the only clean trade that he has.
Yeah, it's still just lethal.
Yeah.
The name's Levi.
Master Mage Levy coming on down, doing some business. Professor of Taboos gonna clean up the job.
Pretty good stuff. Just stall him out. Full board of zombies.
That's right. Professor of Taboos, very good. It's always gonna be good. I mean, it presents an army, it kills stuff, you don't need Evo points with it, it's got nice stats. He looks cool, you know what I mean? He's got all the right things going for him. So, what do you think? Why would you bring a mid-sword list instead of an aggro sword list to this specific tournament, knowing how good aggro sword is?
It is definitely interesting when deck lists are open.
Mhm.
They're all dumped into, a document, so you can just control F your opponent. You can find out what they're playing before you ban, and it's very interesting. Mid sword, I don't feel like personally should have, that many great matchups. Whereas aggro sword is aggro sword right now. So
Right. Mid-sword, like, that's kind of where I've been trying to feel out mid-sword at the moment, because I have played it a decent amount. And realistically, it's what are those good matchups? Like, why are these players bringing it to the tournament? And I feel like they have to feel it's good against everything that's not PDK. Because what I've noticed, and this is only the second matchup we've really seen it, but I've noticed PDK gets banned out because they feel like it's a really bad matchup for mid-sword. But I imagine they feel it's really good against aggro sword and all the aggro decks out there right now. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, I can
really
see
seen it
mid-range
perform
sword
that
beating
well.
aggro sword. Like, it's definitely possible. So,
Just interesting choices. Looks like we've got a little delay here on the next game, but that's okay. So we get to see if Fantasy's sword deck, and if I remember correctly, Fantasy is he played in a tournament, the release tournament, a couple weeks ago, and actually won it with a sword list. And his sword list was packing kind of like a mid-sword, aggro sword like variation, where he had Roundtable Assembly, but it pulled Mars and Juliet and like different options. You know what I mean? It's a very different mix. I'm kind of interested to see if he brought something new today.
How do you feel so far? I mean, we talked a little bit about kind of Commander Sword and some of the tools that are available with it. How do you think, is there kind of a development that you see happening, kind of moving towards the later stages? I mean, there's possibility that things will be changing at the end of the month. But do you think that there's still very interesting tools for Sword to look to kind of make sure that that synergy stays alive? What do you think is the future for the deck?
It's tough to say. It's got such a big toolbox now. I mean, Roundtable Assembly by itself is a huge toolbox, especially with all of the new 3-drop commanders that Sword has access to, right? Do you play Council of Card Knights? Do you not? Do you go up to Fangblade Slayer? Do you not? Do you play like the tutor effects earlier? Do you play aggro? Do you play the Rush followers or do you play the Storm followers? You know, depending on what you were trying to do up the curve. Like, it has literally so many options. It's really hard to say. It's very hard to say.
I think you missed the most important question. Do you play Roland or do you not? That's the question.
Roland, I don't know.
If any of you guys watch Shadow Nexus stuff and you hear me and Aya talk every single day, and for the last year, it feels like already, don't play Roland, okay? Roland's a sweet card if you like to have fun. It is not a sweet card if you like to be competitive. I personally don't like the card at all. I won't go into a tirade like I do in my own streams, but I would not suggest to play that card.
I think Roland's honestly she's fine, she's just not good enough. And she's fine against Roach, really. Like, she kind of stops Roach entirely, so.
She can help against Roach, but we've even casted games where we saw Roland lose through multiple Roaches. It's just, it can stop things, but does it really? Anyway, let's get into this game. Talk to me about this game, Envy. What do you feel like this matchup, like, why do you think mid-range Sword has a good matchup here, or why do you think the players think that?
Mostly because you play Veteran Lancer and you play Front Guard General. It's gonna basically be the reason. But
and a lot of times we've seen these Sword decks not actually let their opponent get to turn 7 and stuff like that. So maybe Front Guard General is not the best, but if it has the defensive options up to it, then Front Guard General definitely slams the door later in the game. Absolutely.
Yeah, well, I mean, it's gonna probably get there. You know, you have Veteran Lancer on 2. Mars actually buffing Veteran Lancer is pretty good. You have 2. We have a ward on 5 through Council of Card Knights, a ward on 6 through Alwitas, and a ward on 7 through Front Guard. So, I mean, you can stop damage from happening.
That Mars value that turn was absolutely insane. It let his Rush follower stay alive. It made his Veteran Lancer get bigger. Like, just so much value out of that card.
Fantasy has to spin and evolve on a ward, which is something he doesn't want to do, but he's going to have to keep doing, so.
Gotta kill that Mars. I agree with that play.
And then gets rid of Mars, yeah. Doesn't even go phase.
Council of Card Knights with Mars in play. Actually, no, that doesn't work. They don't get buffed, I don't believe, right? Or is it every follower with Mars? We just scrolled off of it.
Mars is Swordcraft, I do believe.
In any case,
Card Knights,
Yep. Getting Mars
off
off the table is very important.
Yeah, for sure. Albert coming down. There's a Bane on the board, but it's not gonna matter. You can just kill the ward and then attack the Bane. But I mean, this is what I was saying. Like, you got double Front Guard General on 7. This is 100% Underwear's game. There's no way he loses this game.
Yeah. Oh, Bladed Hedgehog. Love that card. Love that card. Amazing in this mid-sword deck because of how much Storm and Rush is in it. It basically just is a must-kill card early in the game for most decks because it will just continue to grow every single turn.
Look at that. Oh my gosh. Underwear actually didn't even kill the Well, Huskarity's not right now. He didn't even kill the
Right.
Albert. He just went face.
This is what you can do with Sword. Doesn't matter if you're playing a slow Sword deck or a fast one. You still have access to a lot of the same cards like Albert. So
Yeah, I mean, Fantasy's the one having to evolve to take the board back now. Like, he didn't go first. He's going to start seeing double front guard generals. This is going to be... It's going to close out very fast on him.
this is an easy trade.
Withdraw.
Easy trade. So yeah, as the game progresses now, getting past this front guard general might prove to be... Oh, never mind. That'll help.
It'll
Every
help,
single
yeah.
time we say that, Council of Card Knights gets top decked. I'm pretty sure that's
It is
happened like
such a
every
good
single
card.
time.
Yeah, it's such a good card.
Probably gonna full clear here. But yeah, when you're in a
unfortunately,
sword
there's no
mirror,
storm, so...
yeah, exactly. But what I was gonna say is, in the sword mirror, like the one thing you don't want to see is your opponent close to 20 and you under 10. That's like
Oh, yeah.
literally the place you don't want to be when you're playing the sword mirror. So Fantasy definitely knows he's against the ropes here. No illusions. You get to see Bladed Hedgehog doing its thing, getting a little beefier. Uses the Evo point here. Interesting.
An evolve on Hedgehog is interesting. I imagined he would save that, but I guess not. Probably setting up lethal next turn. Double Albert. Okay.
Yep, so this will probably trade into the Hedgehog.
Mm-hmm.
And then, yeah, this next front guard's basically just going to shut this game out. Like you said, these front guard generals, absolutely insane in this matchup, doing a ton of work. Basically clearing out a board from Fantasy and now just making this Geno just lethal over 2 turns, regardless of what else happens.
Exactly. An enhanced Albert's not even good enough. He just surrenders. Whew.
All right. Evening it up his underwear, doing work with his mid-sword deck. I'm glad to see that deck win. I want to see that deck play against more matchups. I just want to know what it feels like.
I mean, I'm 90% sure that's the matchup he wanted to find with it. I think
Right.
I think the mid sword wants to snipe aggro sword.
I feel like it's got to have different good matchups too, though. Like, yes, it's good against aggro sword, but what else is it good against? And that's what I want to learn.
Well, you do also play Alberts. I mean, you have the Albert reach there. You play Council of Card Knights as well, so you can play that Storm plan. You just can't go as fast.
Right. You're not round table assembling into double Juliet action. Okay, here we go.
Here we go.
This is the type of hand we like to see with Atomy. Okay.
That needs one more card to work, and if he gets it,
Didn't mull the Bone Chimera, but gets paid off anyway.
I actually like
I
not
like it.
mulling Chimera there. When you're on the play, I like keeping it.
Even against the sword deck. Interesting.
Yeah, for sure. You're on the play. You get to play it first.
Ooh.
Ooh.
Also nice.
Belinus the Shining.
That's right. Helps
He draws
prevent
a one
against...
drop this turn. Ooh.
Helps prevent some aggro turns here, the Belenus does.
Right. Especially if he's able to pop Atomy this turn.
He gets a 1-drop.
There's a lot of them.
Ooh.
Oh, no.
Ugh,
That's okay.
close.
That's fine. That's
Close.
totally fine.
Fantasy is not going to be board trading here by any means. This is not a board against Shadow that you want to trade into. So Atomy will be
Exactly.
popping next turn.
Exactly. In turn 4, Atomy is a little less high rolly. It's more average. So, you know, it's the best we can ask
Average.
for, I guess.
Still good.
Yeah.
Turn 4 on the play Atomy is not bad.
Exactly.
You might have to play a little bit more defensively against a sword deck like this than you would normally do this early with an Atomy, but still very potent. Actually, a lot of different ways to play this turn out.
Oh, yeah, there are. Definitely.
Romeo, I'm coming to you.
Okay. I like it. And then
I like
probably
this
the
a
other
lot.
Bone Chimera.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Oh, yeah. Here we go.
Clears board, presents board, and he's going to basically draw 4 cards next turn. Exactly like we said, the deck should play out. Don't really like sacrificing your own follower there when you're already going to draw a ton of cards at the beginning of your turn, but small issue.
I actually think it was fine, I think. 1-1's not going to do anything, really.
The battlefield awaits.
You can evolve Atomy next turn, so...
Right, you're just going face probably. At this point, you're like, they probably can't kill me over 2 turns.
Together we're unstoppable.
So I'm just gonna go crazy. The extra 1/1 could have prevented the extra 1 damage from the Vanguard though. So interesting to note.
They're so fresh. We're together
But that was a
forever.
great draw. And that pretty much just solidifies it. Being able to deal with that very easily, and then being able to evolve Atomy, absolutely insane. Gets the Haunted House to clear out the entire board. Anyway. Oh,
And
Atomy.
that's Atomy. That's what Atomy's supposed to do right there.
Atomy. Turn 6 win. 10-10. Unbelievably powerful. Fantasy's just like, what happened to my life? Why did I
think
just get
honestly,
Atomy?
Atomy does so well because no one plays Dance of Death for some reason, except for like random
That's
forest
it.
decks. No one's playing Dance of Death.
That's it. This is not a metagame where you really want to be playing high-costed removal, and that's kind of like, exactly like you said, this is like the niche for Atomy. There's nobody playing cards that remove it. Maybe against Shadow you can't evolve it because they have Soul Squashers, but beyond that, it's really tough.
Yeah. And then also the PDK matchup, the Prime Dragon Keeper matchup in Dragon, they would evolve a Dragoon Scyther or something. But
Right.
you know, outside of all of that, there really aren't many ways to get rid of it.
Not many at all. And it definitely takes up a lot of resources. Like, even if you're in that scenario against PDK, if they're playing their Dragoon Scyther plus an Evolve just to kill your Atomy, they're losing an Evo point, they're losing their Scyther for late game damage and board clear. Like, they're basically stopping from, like, ramping or doing it, or else their plan was.
Mm-hmm. Fantasy is, I think he's taking a screenshot, putting it on Twitter.
Yeah.
Hashtag delete Atomy.
Hashtag Atomy too strong, please
It won't
fix.
be long now. I'll show you a secret
Oh,
technique.
goodness. Underwear's sabering it now. He's like, yep, we did it. We did it.
An exemplary battle.
There it
No
is.
BM. No
Underwear
BM whatsoever.
with the 10-10 enemy. That's the stats you get on Heavenly Aegis.
It
He
is.
had it on turn 4.
Yeah.
Turn 4. Now, if only you could have a card that makes Atomy spell immune and effect immune. That's all we need. Oh yeah. Let me write the letter to
Slow
Saigen
down
right
there,
now.
buddy.
This is
It's
my
called Usher of Sticks.
This
You don't
is
need
my-
to make it spell immune.
This is my balanced suggestion to Cygames of the expansion. Provide Atomy
Make-
the ability to
Provide-
be spell and effect immune.
Please procure the ability to Atomy.
Please make Atomy Aegis the end.
Leave- Make Atomy the Aegis, but maintain Atomy's effects.
Yeah.
Oh, also, you probably don't need to kill the rest of your board. That's fine.
You know, an 8/8 on turn 4 is almost as good as Alice used to be.
That's true. Almost as good.
Almost.
Almost as good. They do require a very similar board state as well. You know.
They do,
in that
yeah.
sense. So, interesting. Gotta think about that a little bit. But let's take a look at the bracket. I think Atomy is very interesting, and obviously Underwear doing very well with it, is able to move on in the lower bracket, and so he eliminates Fantasy. Goodbye, CPV. And Underwear will move on to the lower semifinals. Meanwhile, we've got Piao from the winner's side dropping down, going to fight against Disastra's Omega. Now, Omega is a player that we've talked about quite a little bit once upon a time on EXG, but now making his way back, trying to find his spot in Season 3. We'll see if he can do it. Piao versus Omega, and this is the matchup where we do have PTP Forest, if I'm not wrong.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
Yeah.
it'll be interesting to see how these decks play out. What do you guys think about these two players? I don't really know much about Piao, but how do you feel about Omega and his chances in the current meta? He's kind of been around the competitive scene for a while. What do you think, Exo?
Yeah, so Omega showed me a lot. He's kind of like what I was talking about yesterday with the EU. He's kind of like the Essia of NA. He's shown that he can be a really strong competitor, but just not, he hasn't taken it to the next level yet. You still see a little bit of faltering here, maybe a few mistakes there, but I really feel like he's one of those players that could really shine and just take over a season like this, right? This is exactly what we like. New players, or even some old players that we didn't see enough from, coming back and just taking over. So he's definitely one of those players that can do that.
And I wonder if, it'll be interesting to see what lineups he's running. Disaster obviously having a few members representing here, and had a few members in Season 2 as well. So I'd like to see what kind of teams are kind of rising up to challenge Mana Surge. And the other part of it too is We haven't seen anybody from Shadow Nexus. What's that all about? Oh, I think I touched a sore spot somehow.
Shadow
Well,
Nexus is not a competitive organization.
Oh,
we're-
oh my
we're-
God!
Organization.
No.
okay?
Envy's absolutely correct. Okay, so Shadow Nexus does have competitive players, but we do not push for competition. We're basically beginner friendly. Come, we'll help you with your decks, we'll help you join teams, we'll help you like have fun. And then we have people that are very loyal to us and they want to tag with their name and still play competitively, but we don't push for it. It's not our main thing.
All right, so as we load into this game, I know what I'm about to do. I'm going to write the clickbait article. Exodium releases on stream that
Shadow Nexus is
not
free.
a competitive organization.
You can. I mean, Aya knows it. We all know it. It's not a big deal.
Reveals that they throw tournament victories in order to maintain
Ooh,
their
pure-hearted
appearance.
singer. Oh yes.
Okay, so sorry, Rainy, but we got to talk about this PTP deck real quick, okay? So this PTP deck, one of the most interesting ones I've ever seen. A, because it only runs 2 PTPs, which is fine for a PTP deck, but it only runs 4 cards, I believe, that cost more than 2 play points. It runs Singers, it runs PTPs, and it runs a lone Fairy Beast. It's like 4 or 5 cards above 2 costs. Everything else under 2, ton of the new costs, ton of the new cards. Very interesting list.
Definitely. He has 19 one-drops and 16 two-drops.
Yeah. And of course he's playing Elf Song. He's playing like a kind of like a standard aggro like beginning, but he's got like PTP and like control like built into just 2 drops and 1 drops. It's kind of a marvel to see. I'm sure you guys will have fun after today playing this deck as well after getting this list, because I'm gonna try this deck. The only
I
weird,
mean, any PTP, of course.
Yeah. It'll get people's attention. The only thing that I see that's kind of odd about it is that it's choosing to run Goblin over Water Fairies. What do you think about that?
That is extremely. I noticed that next to the 2 Mystic Rings instead of 3 Mystic Rings.
Right.
Like, might as well, right? Like, why not play 3 of them? That is
Right.
weird because Water Fairy, being that 1-drop, same thing as Goblin. Gives you a shadow when it dies, but it also puts a fairy in your hand. So, maybe it's the extra toughness with Elf Song. I'm not sure.
Yeah,
maybe
it could be. I mean, that's literally the only reason it could be, right? Extra toughness. Maybe you're fighting against an aggro meta. You don't want to trade so much. You want to be able to push some advantage. So, giving up a shadow. Ooh.
It's not often you see a white paladin actually get value, but here it is.
Yep.
On the
Perfect
NGE
case scenario.
Shadowverse Open.
Right. Absolutely perfect. Chooses not. Okay. Chooses to keep the 4
Wow,
on
we're
there.
drawing both your Path to Purgatories in like, what, your first 10 cards? That might be why he's playing 2. They're both animated. He might be why he's playing 2.
Right. I mean, that's probably also why he's playing Mystic Ring. So Mystic Ring also great in a PTP deck because it can put your PTPs back in your deck before you Altered Fate. Especially in a hand like this. Like, you don't want to Altered Fate, but you kind of have to. And you're not going to be able to while these 2 PTPs are there. So maybe if he draws Mystic Ring soon, he can just put 1 back and then Altered Fate. Or this might just be a game where he can't Altered Fate.
Well, he's going to probably have to spend one of his upcoming turns just slapping one of them down, which is, kind of doable against a slower sword deck. If this were aggro sword, he would have automatically lost already with this draw.
Yep.
But it's kind of doable. You can kind of justify it here.
It's also relevant because mid-range sword and sword in general really doesn't have ways to pop amulets. So slamming down some PTPs isn't the biggest problem. Like, that can sit there for the rest of the game.
Right, and these are open deck lists. It's not like your opponent cares if you're playing Path to Purgatory. It's like, ha, I already knew that, nerd. So,
Right.
Like, he doesn't care.
So, for those of you who don't know how Path to Purgatory works, even after looking at the card, building up to 30 shadows takes a while, right? Of course, we see Piao over here only sitting at 6 right now, needs to get to 30 before that activates. And that's where cards like Altered Fate, discarding your entire hand and drawing a new hand of that many cards, basically gets put into action. That's also why all these fairy generation cards are in here, like, Fairy Circle and Elf Song and Wood of Brambles and all of those things that generate tons of cards that can then turn into shadows over the long term. And then Path to Purgatory has just come out to then just deal 6 or 12 every single turn to everything your opponent has to just clean up the game, finish it out, all that kind of goodness.
It's like a giant Mega Grimner, if you're not familiar with it.
Right.
But Path to Purgatory hits face still, so.
Yes, it does. Path to Purgatory will end the game by itself if you can get to 30 shadows. Okay, so we see a very defensive setup from Omega here.
Oh yeah. Ooh, even finding a fairy beast here too. He's gonna ditch it though, I think. Yep.
Even ditches the path to purgatory. Interesting. Oh my god, another altered fate. Decides to wait on it though.
Fairy Whisperer along with May though. That's pretty good. This May has a 66% chance on a good shot.
One time dealer.
Probably wants to hit the ward. Be the best hit. Nice.
Nice.
Okay. Good job.
Winning that lotto. Always like to see Elf Child May finding her man. That's what she does. She's got the red devil eyes. She knows how to get it done.
This is looking actually kind of bad for Piao though. He's not gonna get. I don't think he can get Maybe he can get PTP online this turn, but if he doesn't, he's in trouble. He's dead if he doesn't. So
he will need to find another altered fate for that to happen.
Mm-hmm.
And definitely has a shot to. And that's, again, even not just putting PTPs back into your deck, but putting Altered Fates back into your deck so you don't double up on them in your hand. Also very powerful. Mystic Ring
if he just Altered Fates and throws his board in, if he just Altered Fates, throws his board in, he's 27 shadows, right? Because he gains 8 from his hand. No, he gains even more from his hand. I forgot that Elsong gave you 2 fairies. Yeah, so he gains 9 from his hand. He's at 29. He has to cast 1 spell, so PTP is active.
Oh yeah, doesn't even need to have the second Altered Fate. And with things like Airbound Barrage to help him out this turn, 2 Airbound Barrages even, gonna be able to clean this board up quite nicely.
Well, the board is dead already, like, if he casts 1 spell, so...
That's true, that's true. Honestly, too many interactions to keep track of in 1 second.
Yeah. If you Mystic Ring the Brambles back in, you can just Roach combo next turn.
You could also, if you really wanted to, Airbound Barrage and pick up your PTP and then just throw it away. That's my favorite.
Solid plan.
Solid play. So decides to clear board anyway, even though he had PTP active.
Front guard has to come down, period.
Yes.
It's the most mana efficient play anyway, so...
Yeah, it's very interesting from this point to see if Omega can even win. He has no Storm Followers in hand, and realistically, Piao doesn't even need to play anything.
Yeah, he's gonna surrender. Yeah. He knows, dude. He knows.
He knows. PTP is that end game.
Once PTP is active, mid-range sword can't win. There's nothing they can do. Like, if you don't have evolves for Albert, you can't do anything.
Right. You'd have to have a running string of Storm cards, which he just did not have access to. Obviously, that Fangblade Slayer could come down to slap for a few points of damage, but like we said, Piao literally didn't need to play anything for the rest of the game. That PTP sitting in play is lethal by itself, and with the Roach in hand, could speed it up at any time.
Path to Purgatory.
Pretty good. Pretty good. Making it to top 8, doing well with it. Maybe Roach Force isn't the only way to go. Yes, you play Roaches in Force, but it doesn't have to be your main avenue. Not always. And this is the deck that I was really looking forward to see again. I really want to see if this can put in some work, especially against a sword deck now. This is a mid-sword, not completely aggro, so probably has a better chance against it.
It's got a way better chance against it, I would imagine, yeah.
So have you tried Aetherwing, Aether of the White Wing at all this expansion yet?
I didn't open any, and I was crafting more important things like Loki and Medusa, cards that aren't very good.
Oh, okay. I see. Yes.
So...
Loki is a prime example of a card that you should be crafting.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, definitely. Prime example of a card. Piao showing off his Daria sleeves. He actually has the Daria alt leader, so...
Jealous.
Yeah.
So the interesting thing that I want to say about Piao's deck, especially for those of you looking at the deck list after the tournament, are he is playing the Aether, but his package isn't complete. He's not running a 7-drop, which I find kind of alarming. Not having an option for one of your turns, unless he really just doesn't care what happens on that turn. And he's playing 3 Aegis, which I don't know if you need to play that high of an amount if you are playing the tutor package. So kind of some interesting choices in his list.
It is pretty interesting. I think maybe he just wants the Aetherwing to pull Cleric Lancer every time, unless it pulls Aegis.
But he is playing Dark Johns. So there is kind of like this sidestep that he has
to do. Never mind. There's a conflict there. You're right.
Yeah, so there's kind of a conflict. Like, yes, he wants to pull Cleric Lancer on 6, but on turn 7 and turn 8, it doesn't really do anything. He's kind of got a gap in his tutor package, which is just interesting design is all.
Yeah, won't show you the fanfare of Dark Gen, so... would be kind of useless.
Here we go. We see Omega doing his aggro sword impression right now.
Omega's hand is very low. This is bad.
Yes, this is bad. When you're playing kind of like a grindy matchup, like a mid-range versus a control, you want a lot of your card draw, your tutors, that kind of stuff, and he just doesn't have it. He's got a nice little early aggressive start, but that's not really what this deck aims to do.
Yeah, right. To be fair, this is pre-Themis, and he's going in pretty hard, so...
That's true. That's true. This is pre-Themis, and there's not really a good answer other than just that
Actually, he might
Cleric
just
Lancer.
win. I think he just wins. Yeah, because Cleric Lancer dies to the Bane. And he takes, yeah. He takes 8.
That is just lethal. That is just lethal, yeah.
He's just dead.
So
Oh, never
forget
mind.
aggro sword impression.
I derped completely and didn't realize I could attack the 2-2. The 2-2 had ward also.
So it's not lethal. Okay.
It's the one.
I was going along with you. I thought you did.
It's
I thought
one
you
off
did
now.
the math. You know, Envy, you're
Well, I
messing
did
me
the
up,
math.
but that's okay.
I counted the 2-1 involved. That was in my math.
So
Or the 2-2.
doing his best impression, better than a regular impression. This is a pretty good impression. And not so even if he doesn't win this turn and he doesn't have a lot of cards in his hand, it does open up the option for Albert to kind of just be lethal by turn 9, and he doesn't really have to do anything until then. So he did a really good impression, good enough so much so that Piao is down to 4. And there's still an
Could be at
Evo
1.
for Omega. Could be at 1.
Fencer coming down. So Themis is 100% going to get played. He's going to slap it down so fast.
Interesting to see the Floral Fencer be played, knowing that Themis is kind of like the only real answer to this, but not a big deal. The Floral Fencer is probably not going to do anything.
Yeah, I really don't understand what the Floral Fencer was doing there. I don't understand what it would have done that everything else on the board wasn't already doing.
Yeah. So yeah, realistically, Omega's hand kind of looks junky right now, but like it doesn't need to look good. He can, like we said, he can just sit there and just wait it out. Being at 3 health is not where Piao wants to be, especially against a deck that can jam something that can deal 10 damage right off the top.
Geno over front guard general going to create 2 bodies, both threaten lethal, but it's not going to matter. There it is, Dark Gen, the whole reason right there. Completely. It's to kill 2 1/1s.
That's right. Dark John's still not a bad card. Not amazing like she used to be, but definitely a role player. Kind of weird. Yeah, definitely a role player.
Hey, it's lethal.
Hey, storm off the top.
It won't be long now.
Council of Card Knights every
Kinda
time.
what Switzerland
Every single
does,
time.
you know.
Yeah.
I mean,
every time.
Stormcraft's pretty good.
Every time we think Sword just is gonna do nothing, they top deck Council of Card Knights and they do a lot of something.
It's caster curse. They're just gonna always have council card.
That's right. That's right. Well, looks like Omega's got nothing. Oh, yep. All right.
Never mind.
If this Haven deck doesn't win a single game, I'm going to be very sad. Not just for myself, but for Aya, because I know he loves Haven and he really likes Aegis Haven. If it can't pull out a game here in the top 8, I'm going to be very sad.
Aya will be fine. He's watching Forrest win games, and that's his favorite
That's
faction anyway.
true.
So,
That's fair. That's fair.
yeah, he'll be fine.
Mother, father, come on.
So now we get to see kind of an older matchup, right? Mid Shadow versus Aegis Haven. This is newer Aegis Haven, and Mid Shadow hasn't changed too much. Maybe a few cards off with the Dark Blade Fiend and also the Ceres, but other than that, pretty much the same.
I want to
that
say
being
this
said,
matchup
that's pretty
should
big.
be bad for Shadow. Don't you agree? Maybe.
Should be, but Shadow, essentially the Haven Shadow matchup is realistically just, can Shadow manage its shadows well enough to actually get full use out of all of their cards, whether it be Ektar, because this is the type of deck where you actually want to produce the zombies from Ektar, just to have like that constant board fill, because essentially it's a battle of Haven trying to board clear every turn and Shadow trying to board fill every turn once it gets to stages like turn 6, 7, 8, that kind of thing, and realistically it's whoever runs out of gas first. But with Dark Johns being very good against Shadow, this is kind of the matchup you want him for, just gives you extra board clears alongside Themis, so.
That is
And
true.
with
Dark
2 black
Jones
and
much more useful, yeah. Omega opting to summon the Soul Squasher there instead of Demon Eatering his Skull Beast, just try and get some damage on the board. He's going to get punished pretty hard by double Black and Scripture here.
Yeah. Black and Scripture are also very good against Shadow. Not only does it remove the follower, it removes the last words, and they don't get the Shadow for the follower itself. So basically just muting what Shadow can do. And this is, if Haven gets the right cards, this is what it can do against Shadow. So definitely in a good position Piao is right now.
Not to mention, Piao has drawn all 3 of his globes, and he is very far ahead in cards.
Yes, and not going to slow down in card advantage anytime soon. Probably even
Oh, no.
debating if he even wants to play this Sacred Plea right now.
Too many cards.
Just too many cards, too many board spaces. Don't know if want.
I think he's fine for it. He still has room to pop the Aria next turn and not lose his Tiger, so he actually doesn't do it. Interesting.
Just doesn't want to pop both the Globe and the Sacred Plea on the same turn. Interesting to see Sacred Plea in the Igus deck anyway, with Globe being a nice little replacement for it. But you know what? If you like 1-drops, it's definitely a good option.
Globe and even I've seen we were just talking about this card. Staircase is just like really good, you know? Like it only draws followers, but I mean that could be awesome for you. Like it could be Aegis, you know, every time. So
yeah, so when the set was first released, Staircase to pretty much everyone, as far as I know, looked like a good card, and it could be used in combo decks and all that kind of stuff. I really think that Staircase is actually going to see more and more play as people get used to it, because it's just a really nice card. It's just a card that kind of sits there unassumingly, and then all of a sudden you just have way more card advantage than your opponent. You know what I mean?
it's
I've
absolutely
seen it in PDK
insane.
decks.
Yeah, it is.
It's just really good value. And here we get to see the Cleric Lancer Beats doing its jam.
That 5/6 ward, pretty good.
Pretty good. Cleric Lancer not often played, but with the printing of Aether of the White Wing, might be the 5-drop of choice for Haven, actually. I can't really think of something better. Like, you don't want to pull Sonya with it, right? Because Sonya likes to be the only follower left in play.
Also wouldn't trigger anyway, so.
Wouldn't trigger. Yeah, I don't know if there's any other 5-drop I'd want to pull with Haven right now.
Well, if you could choose, it would probably be, well, the Fanfare wouldn't trigger, never mind. If you could pull Amulets, you could pull March Hares, but the Fanfare wouldn't trigger.
Right. Or I guess it can pull Tenko, so if you're playing like an Alana's based Haven deck, then maybe Tenko would be a good pull, so kind of like a different variation.
You're forgetting the best option here. It can actually pull Eidolon.
Ooh, yes, okay. So, absolutely right. But then again, Aether of the White Wing plus Eidolon will take up 2 board slots, so it means that you can't have like a full board of Amulets when you do it.
That's true. That is true. Well, you could just, put up 4 Amulets and then banish the Eidolon. He's probably just as useful, really.
So Omega went for the gamble there, losing the gamble.
He lost the gamble, yeah.
Yeah. Now this Tiger gets to go face. That's a lot of damage, especially with a Dark John in hand that could get aggressive if this priest stays alive. So I guess not known for its aggro, but sometimes when it sticks big followers, it can just kind of punch face.
I mean, if you hit him with Tigers 3 times, he's dead.
Right, exactly.
It's lucky for Omega that the Dark Gen couldn't come down without popping that Tiger also, because that would have been really bad.
Yeah, really bad. Lots of damage. It's actually very heads up to get the 1 damage on it right now, knowing that there are Dark Johns in Piao's deck. So even though it was a gamble, it still kind of prohibits the Dark John play. So not the worst gamble of all time by any means.
Piao was very heavily considering this evolve. It's his last evolve, so.
He forced out the Priest of the Cudgel and then thought about the evolve. So maybe a little hesitation in his thought process. Ooh, and decides not to evo.
Okay. I actually like that, I think.
Okay, so
it's
maybe
not often
maybe
that
kind
Aegis
of just
does
like
anything
switch
if it doesn't
decisions.
evolve, so.
That's true. But yeah, even on the competitive stage, guys, I mean, sometimes you think you're making a decision, then all of a sudden you're like, wait, maybe that's not what I want to do. Mid kind of play, and then just kind of switch up your mind. As long as it leads towards the game plan that you want it to, it's not a bad choice. It's actually one of the things I had to train myself out of as a young competitive player was if you make a mistake in a game, just kind of brushing it off your shoulder as opposed to like letting it suck you down, right? Because you can really focus on a mistake that you make and just be like, crap, I lost the game because of this mistake. But realistically, if you compose yourself, you come back, and you just kind of continue playing without making more mistakes, for the rest of the game, you can still win that game. So don't get down on yourselves for making a mistake, even if it's mid-turn.
Very good definition of tilt there.
Yes.
Dark Gen
exactly.
making a 5 attack Priest of the Cudgel. Really not that big of a deal, though, honestly, for Omega to deal with this.
And realistically, even saying that, it might not have been a mistake for Priest. It might have been his line of play. I'm just saying that could have been a good example of it.
Right. I mean, it did give the impression, the way he thought about it for a very long time, it did give
Right.
the impression that he second guessed himself. So,
Killing
oh my God,
Now
there's
we
plenty
can
of
see-
plays available.
Blade
Goes
Fiend
for a
is
Dark Blade Fiend.
Good.
Yeah,
I love
Dark
this
Blade
card right
Fiend's
now.
insane.
I thought this card was just okay, but like after seeing it in practice, like time after time, this card is just absolutely insane.
Yeah, him and Ceres are incredible. I think in New Shadow.
Well, Ceres was like on my radar immediately. I thought Ceres was the best card in the entire set as soon as the set got released, but Blade Fiend has been proven to be just as potent in the 5-drop slot, and it just giving mid-range Shadow just all these new options that it never had before.
Necro 2 is really good. Like, really good. Triggers almost always he has ward. Very powerful follower.
Just simply adding a new ward follower to the deck outside of Death's Breath and on a turn earlier just gives it a whole new dimension of this game plan that you can put together with it, which I really like.
Right. Because
So
previously, if
next
you wanted
turn-
that, you had to play like Commander Destruction, which just didn't work.
Right. And next turn, we're going to see, like, kind of what I was talking about with the whole of the Aether of the White Wing. So, like, realistically, he does have a Taurus. So, Taurus is actually not a bad play here. But there's not a whole lot of options at the top end, and he might even want to save it for turn 10 to pull the Aegis at this point. I don't know if Taurus is really good enough here, especially because he can just Themis.
Yeah, I think Themis is probably the better play. You unfortunately pop your Arya off the board, but this is an obvious setup for Eekter, and you kind of have to get rid of it.
Right.
Let me ease your pain.
And then I believe naturally Thane will come down. I don't know if there's actually a better play to fill up the board than a Thane. Well, he might go with the Death's Breath here. I don't think so. I don't think he wants to use the Shadows like that.
Probably not. I mean, if he's going to go for Death's Breath, you might as well go for Zombie Party instead.
That's true. That's true. Zombie Party is a good play here as well. And you have to kind of expect, like, you know your opponent's playing Aether of the White Wing. They have 3 Aegis. They have 3 Aethers. You're pretty much expecting Aegis next turn. So that's kind of like what you're thinking about right now with Omega. Especially with the Sacred Plea popping.
Okay, so he goes for Thane into Zombie Party. So instead of 3 zombies, he plays Thane.
I don't like using the Zombie Party here as just a straight removal spell because I think the board clears are super important, or the board fills rather. So using one of them like that might have cost you a turn or some value. But interesting decision. And I imagine if you're going to play the Aegis, you'd rather just play the Aether just to pull an Aegis out of your deck. Just seems like a better overall play to me. He might be thinking about Themising again, though.
Themis into Cudgel's not bad, I think, personally.
It means that... Okay. He wants to Cudgel first.
The sky is weak.
Ooh, just
Declare.
Cudgel. Okay. This is
Wait.
interesting.
Okay.
So he's going to evolve the Cudgel, I think?
Yeah, I guess that would be the play.
I see your weakness.
Get rid of both of the whites.
So then this would basically say I would Death's Breath here, right? So that I can maybe protect my 4/5 and keep pushing damage, not take any damage from this Aegis. But of course we can see a Themis in hand on the side of Piao, which does a great job alongside of Aegis to just wipe out the board and continue attacking. Ooh, okay.
Maybe goes for Eekter instead.
Maybe feels like this is the last turn he can actually get some damage in with it.
It's possible.
mind
As well
at
as if
all.
he pops Themis on this, then... That means
Then
Death's
he's got a
Breath will
really
actually
good
protect
follow-up
him.
turn.
Yeah, he
Death's
does. He's
Breath
an
and the
amazing
White
follow-up.
King. I like this play from Omega.
I do, yeah. Same. He also heals
And
2 off
unless-
series.
Yeah, and unless there's like an actual good follow-up, like, you know, a Themis or a big board wipe next turn, this might just be a game-winning play that Omega just put together.
Scarlet roses are so
He unfortunately won't gain Ward and Bane, but whatever. That doesn't actually matter. So.
Nope, just getting damage.
Oh my
Oh.
gosh! What in the world? No!
Oh, amazing! See, Piao knows it.
Sugoi.
Unreal. What a top deck.
Wow.
So Igus did win a game, and it will move on to possibly win more games. I'm kind of happy about it. I'm sorry, Omega. I'm very sorry.
Oh my god. Right in the time of need. It's that I feel like it's been a while since we've seen an insane top deck. I mean, we've seen a few top decks in the playoffs of season 2.
Well, we've seen a lot of top deck Council of Card Knights. While they might not feel amazing anymore because we see it so often, it's a pretty amazing top deck every single time it happens.
Yeah. I would agree with that. It definitely felt like, I guess the effect of wiping away a bunch of wards is, whereas you're expecting having to slog through every single one of them. But that was quite intense. So Piao is able to move on. Let's take a look at the bracket and see what the remainder of the tournament is like. We still have to play out Icy Stars versus Spanish Surge's Red, and then 3 more matches after that. It's going to be Underwear versus Piao, and then the winner of that faces a loser between the upper finalists, and then we have the grand finals left. So the 4 players remaining is Icy Stars, Red, Underwear, and Piao. 2 from Mana Surge, 1 from Disastra, and 1 from WTV. So that's what it is. And I think the first week of North American qualifiers, definitely very interesting. We've got a lot of old faces, and we talked about this, how the North American scene is a little more developed, but I'm really glad to see Piao taking up this competition and kind of doing very well for himself. But in the elimination rounds, and obviously the journey from the lower bracket is going to be much more difficult. We'll see if he can make it through or if it's going to be Underwear. So, a few things to talk about. The website, shadowverse.nge.io, that's where you can go if you want to sign up for these tournaments, and make sure you do so because 2 weeks of qualifiers remain, and that's their ticket as a North American or European resident to make your way into the World Grand Prix. If you win out those qualifiers and get put into the Starforged Legends season of the Shadowverse Open, on week number 4, we're having a special Contenders Cup tournament, and the top 3 of that particular tournament are the ones chosen to go to the World Grand Prix. So make sure if you want to participate and you want to go to Tokyo, Japan, that you are playing in these qualifiers. That is your chance. So go to shadowverse.ng.io for that. Really excited to see who ends up becoming the representatives for both regions. And
Again, the most exciting tournament to date. Like, if you can't go, don't miss it. Okay, because it's gonna be insane.
Absolutely. So we're about to head to a break, but make sure you stay tuned because we have a bunch of news to chew through. If you see in the European tournament, that you might know a little bit about what's going on, but in just a bit, we're going to update you on everything that's happening in the Shadowverse world. So 5-minute break for us to get water and to kind of calm ourselves down. And then when we come back, announcing a whole bunch of stuff that's going to happen. So sit tight, guys. All right, we are back, and it's time for news. It's that time of the broadcast where we talk about all the things that are happening in Shadowverse, and there's a lot. There's a lot that's happening towards the end of 2017. So many things going on, and it's really cool. I really like to see all these events kind of forming and coming up and getting more frequent. So, first up, across the ocean in Singapore, where I grew up. I really love the place there, and it's super exciting to see a Shadowverse thing happen there. Southeast Asia Mobile Majors. So Southeast Asia is a big fighting game tournament. The Southeast Asia Majors is a big fighting game tournament that happens down in that region, and they've just started their mobile division, and Shadowverse is going to be there. So really cool. First official Shadowverse tournament in Southeast Asia, and it's going to be a live event the 14th and 15th of October in Singapore. Find more information at beastapac.com. Registration ends on Monday. The total prize pool of $5,000, and the winner will be flown to Japan to watch the World Grand Prix. That's going to be super exciting. Really looking forward to meeting whoever comes from the Southeast Asia region. As well as there's going to be some cool stuff. There's going to be a booth there. The cosplay for Wizards of Oz is going to be there. And exclusive first looks at the Starforged Legends promotion cards. Those beautiful cards that come in the little tiny packs. Those are going to show up at the Southeast Asia Mobile Majors as well. So, super exciting. Man, I wanted to just fly across the globe and go to Singapore to attend that. But we've got more stuff happening on our territory, like TwitchCon. At the end of October, TwitchCon is going to be happening in Long Beach, California, and we're going to have the Streamer Showdown. So Kriparian, Reyned, Thies, Hafu, Justin Wong, and Eloise are going to be attending and playing some Shadowverse on stage, having a bunch of fun. October 21st, 12:30 p.m. PST, TwitchCon Esports Stage is going to be the URL for that. And we're going to do a lot of fun stuff there too. Shadowverse is a gold sponsor of TwitchCon, so you'll get to see a lot of us, and there's going to be a fun just a lot of fun different things that are going to be happening. More details going to be coming out later as that happens. But if you're a Shadowverse fan and you're in the area, definitely make it down to TwitchCon, because we'd love to see you there and love to play some video games with you. Also, I know we mentioned it a lot during the show, but always worth mentioning more. The World Grand Prix is upon us at the end of the year in December. $120,000 in prize pool. A lot of different regions are going to be represented here, and this is now your chance, if you are from Europe and North America, to find your way in. Play in the qualifiers, make it into the Starforged Legends season of the Shadowverse Open, and then that's going to qualify you to be invited to the Contenders Cup. The 12 players in the season will face off, and the top 3 are chosen to be flown out to Tokyo, Japan to represent Europe, and 3 to represent North America. So that's how you get involved. If you want to go to Japan and play Shadowverse amongst the best, just see how the scene is over there, definitely sign up for these qualifier tournaments. 2 left, next week and the week after. Also, PAX Australia is happening. PAX has been all around the United States, and now it's making its way down to Australia, and Shadowverse is going to be there. So if you are in that area, the Oceanic region, make sure you go to PAX Australia and hang out and play some Shadowverse with everybody there. I'm sure they will all be super friendly, and of course Cygames is always super friendly there. And unfortunately, I think it might be a little far for us in particular, unless we just kind of, make a break for it and just run.
I'll swim there.
Yeah, we'll swim. I wonder if we can. I wonder if we can just have a show that's all broadcasted off our phones. And we'll just go there and just broadcast from our phones, and just have like this selfie
That'd be
quality.
one heck of a data bill. I don't know about that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that data
would
is going to
be
be really high.
Yeah.
But it'd be super fun. I mean, it's been a long time since I've been to Australia. But it's cool because Singapore, Australia, they're both kind of in that region, and so having events happen there is super awesome to have those players have an opportunity to get involved and do community stuff. So
That's like the big news of the entire year. Shadowverse is going global, right? Like we're having events all over the place. We're having live events start. Like this is an exciting time. Like I can't wait for more events. How much bigger they can get. Like especially after the World Grand Prix. Like how are they going to top that, right? Bigger, better, more. Like I love it. I love all the stuff that's going on.
Bigger, better, more is a good way to say it. Envy, if there was a particular event that you would want to go to, which one would you want to go to?
Man, that's tough. I feel like Australia is great, but it's probably on the bottom of the list because I heard they have giant puppy-sized spiders.
I forgot about that.
Let's not go to Australia. Probably Japan. I don't know. Japan's pretty cool. Yeah, just go see Japan, man.
See, the right answer. This was a test. The right answer was all of them. That was
all of them. My bad. I'm sorry. Go to where they have puppy-sized spiders, Rainy. We'll see if you want to go there. Have fun there.
I did forget about the puppy-sized spiders, but hey, maybe we can find a local Australian to tell us how not to die by all the dangerous things that exist down there. And also, we'll trade him for some advice on how not to die to PDK or something like that.
That's a good trade.
Yeah. Play PDK yourself.
Yeah. Talking about dying to PDK and getting aggro sorted, let's take a look at the bracket to see where we stand in the tournament today. Mana Surge is on top. Icy Stars and Red are leading up the upper finals, and they are about to face off and see who will guarantee their first spot in the new season. And then over in the lower bracket, we've got Disastra's Underwear. Just had his teammate Omega lose out, and so he's carrying on the Disastra name, and WTV is being represented by Piao, trying to make his way through, and we'll see. Through to the lower finals, and they still have to play one more, but they are facing elimination. They cannot lose another game, while Icy Stars and Red will have that buffer. Of course, as we say so many times in double elimination, it's so much better to be in the grand finals on the winner's end, because it makes your life way easier. So Icy Stars and Red are looking really good right now, but the question is who will be the second. We'll see who gets sent down, who gets relegated, who is the stronger Mana Surge member. My friends, predictions. I started with Exo last time. Envy, you get the first pick. Who's it gonna be?
Man, Stars or Red? I'm not sure. I really don't know. I don't know. I'll let Exo pick. I'll take the opposite.
So I'm gonna do a personal. Oh, go ahead, Rainy. If you're gonna ask you something else.
No, well, I just got an update that I think Icy Stars and Red is going to be delayed for just a little bit, so it's actually going to be Underwear's matchup here. So we'll make predictions for that one.
More time to think for you, Envy.
More time to think.
There's nothing. I don't know. That's nothing to think about. I don't know. I'm rooting for Underwear wherever he goes, but
you go with it. Yeah. Hey, you know,
Red,
Underwear is important
to
all of us. It's nice and comfy. It helps, keep mobility up. You know, I think sometimes the underwear can augment your seating comfortness.
And sometimes if you want to be a superhero, you wear them above your pants, so that's kind of stylish.
Yeah.
Or you can wear them on
Or
your
your
head if
head.
you're a crazy loony
Yeah.
person. So yeah.
You know, now
Crazy
I'm gonna spend
loony
my time
person.
thinking
Wow.
about.
Way
Yeah,
to
you
label
heard
my
me.
grandparents. Come on. What the heck, man?
Thanksgiving at your house is probably
Look,
amazing.
buddy.
So never mind. You're right. Underwear
Look,
not
buddy.
just for crazy loons, also awesome holiday parties.
Some of them make great hats, okay? They protect you from the rain.
You wear underwear
Unless
that-
they're not very
okay,
absorbent.
Well, that's gonna have to be a conversation for after this broadcast. I want to know why you wear underwears on your head.
Beautiful. All
This
right,
looks
so let's
familiar.
get into this game. Yes, this does look familiar. And so you're rooting for underwear. I've got to say, if you're playing Atomy, I've got to root for you. So underwear has definitely got my pick as well. And it really is up to this Haven deck. I think this Haven deck is kind of like the make or break for Piao. If he can get past this, I think his PTP deck is just fine. But the Haven deck seems still kind of iffy to me.
The only problem with Atomy is that he gets absolutely destroyed by Tribunal.
Yes, he
So
does. However, with these Bone
This is
Chimeras,
bad.
it kind of does make it a little better. You
a
can
little bit.
leave some other followers around. Ooh, and he's got the perfect hand for an Atomy if he had one. But he
this
does
is
not
where he
have
would
an
put his Atomies if he had any. That is true.
Atomy. Right. But we don't see any Black Inscriptions on the side of Piao here, so Shadow Generation is still going to be real. Next turn, there is a Priest of the Cudgel. But for the most part, these shadows will get generated, and followers dying promotes that staircase to actually pop and then maybe pull something like an Atomy.
Oh, he didn't get it, so it's gonna be bad
Not
for
get
him.
it. That's right. And the later the game goes, the easier and easier it is for Haven to actually deal with cards like Atomy. However, this is kind of going to turn into a game of, I just need to generate a ton of shadows. I really hope I pull Deathly Tyrant off of my staircase and hope that it can just end the game when I can play it.
Evil deeds end now.
That is true, but he's gonna be a one shadow here, which is
Right.
like,
Not a lot. Not a lot.
absolutely pathetic.
And shine.
Yeah. Haven is technically one of the best answers to Shadow in more ways than one, not just because of the banish, but because of the massive board clears, and because it has an end game that you can't really fight through in Aegis. So it's kind of an awkward matchup. But as we've seen in from the Haven side, you can just not draw the right cards to do anything on the appropriate turns. So,
Mhm.
Atomy being Atomy can just beat itself also. So we've seen that actually happen more often than not. Underwear's gotten like one good Atomy hand as far as we've seen. Of course, he probably got a ton getting here. But
yeah,
maybe
for
he's
sure,
failing a
obviously.
little here.
I think he's trying to make the best use of the soul conversion here in case it draws Atomy.
hmm Also, just getting extra value out of Haunted House is never bad.
For you.
Mhm.
Might even decide to soul convert the 1/2. No, decides not to.
He did draw Atomy, okay.
Ooh,
Well, if you soul convert the Skull Beast, you get rid of your staircase and you can't cast Atomy, so.
That's true. That's true. I
So
like
he's got
it.
the two
With
skeletons.
protection.
Okay. I believe. And Drolfus is in hand too that he could evolve.
However, this Beast Call Aria is going to be able to take out the 2/1/1s.
Ooh. That's interesting.
That is interesting.
I mean, I guess Beast Call could have killed it because the bird plus the tiger. If you evolve the tiger, that's to 8 damage. So, but he can
Going
just
to do a
evolve the
similar
tiger.
job. Yep. And this tiger is going to actually be an enormous threat. However, Staircase is popping, so a bunch of new cards for Underwear coming into hand next turn.
Oh, Tribunal.
Yeah, Tribunal, one of the best cards that Haven had, and that card is not going
Wow.
anywhere.
Holy
lot of
Andropus, Batman.
A lot of card draw here. Yeah, I think this is pretty easy. Androlphus, Evo, into Soul Squasher. And then you can just start chaining.
I would honestly even probably Soul Convert the Andropus too. It's barely susceptible to banish.
Okay. So not giving himself the option to Androlphus and Soul Squasher in the same turn. At least with an Evo.
This is interesting. He's not saving the evolve for Tyrant, I can't imagine.
Don't need to. I guess knowing that there are frog clerics in the deck of Piao, maybe 13 is not enough. So maybe that is what he's saving it for. But he's still got a lot of time before that's even relevant. Of course, he's got to get to 20 shadows for that to be relevant. And with the bodies that Piao is presenting, he might not even have anywhere close to that amount of time.
I don't think he does. No. Because he didn't evolve Androphus last turn, he can't exactly do that and then do anything this turn, so...
Right. Kind of missed a good opportunity to get some extra card draw there, but... Yeah, and there actually is no but. There's not really much to do with this hand. This is kind of just like a setup hand.
Yeah.
Can't even get through that Cleric Lancer at the moment, so it's going to have to try to dig for an answer.
Lurching Corpse is okay-ish.
Ish. No
Ish.
real ways to use it, though. Not yet, anyway. But now, I think it's just a value game. I'm going to play a bunch of followers, I hope they draw a bunch of cards, and I hope I don't die before then.
10 damage on board, so...
Yeah, exactly. And as we know, this Cleric Lancer, even if it gets dealt with, there can be a follow-up Cleric Lancer to just stuff up the board again here.
Mm-hmm.
Ooh, and a Taurus to help finish out the aggro game plan from Haven here. Yeah,
this is looking really bad for Underwear.
Yeah, I can't imagine not just going face here. Like, just face everything.
Yeah.
And just pass. Like, you have your Tribunal popping next turn. You don't really care if Anatomy comes down. Deathly Tyrant's not an option yet. Yeah, and that's exactly what Piao's doing.
There's only 4 power on board and not even 20 shadows, so you can't die to really anything.
Right. And yeah, plus Taurus being able to come down next turn. Okay, decides to go a little defensive here. Just to put out another
Cleric Lancer.
Okay. Okay. Can't hate on that play. Couldn't deal with the first one, probably can't deal with 2 of them.
Well, if he had Tyrant, he could go around it, but...
That's true. Is playing the Dead Moon Disciple. Not an often seen card, but it is a 1-play 0.11 that allows a follower to ignore ward. So kind of like a combo card with Deathly Tyrant to get through even Cleric Lancers in the endgame. But he's got to make it there. Still staring down this huge board with not a lot of ways to deal with it. Does have a Demon Eater to go along with his Lurching Corpse now for some value.
Mm-hmm. This board actually isn't lethal by itself. It needs Taurus to win.
Right.
Interestingly enough.
But Taurus, that kind of like great middle option. It's a great defensive card. It's a great offensive card. Can't say any bad things about Taurus. And you can pull it off of Aether.
Double Atomy, okay.
Got a good hit. Actually, no, he didn't, because those Cleric Lancers are only 1 power on offense, so actually wants to...
No, they're not, yeah. You wanted to hit the Tiger, yeah. The only problem with playing Atomy this turn is that that Tribunal is taken down next turn.
Exactly. Might go for it anyway.
That's interesting.
Probably just to pop the Staircase, just to get more options next turn. Probably doesn't think in any way, shape, or form that a card like Taurus can win this turn. I mean, knows that it's in the deck, but of course we know it. Taurus showing off right here. And Aegis winning before Aegis even came down.
With Taurus the Great. Oh, poor Atomy.
He is great. But yeah, Atomy needs to start drawing better. Okay, Envy, I'm tired of Underwear not having Atomy in opening hand. We've seen it once. That's not enough. We need to see it like every game. Every single game,
I think,
all
honestly,
the time.
Atomy had an okay draw that game. It's just, it got hit by Tribunal, and Tribunal is just too good against Atomy. You can't... It's 4 play points kill your Atomy. What do you do?
It's true. I think Atomy has a really good shot against PTP Force, though. I actually don't know if there's any way in Piao's deck to actually deal with Atomy, except for Pixie Mischief. Which is not a bad answer to it. It's actually a pretty sweet answer to it. But
it's pretty funny.
It's pretty funny to bounce Atomy's back to your opponent's hand after they sack their entire board and play it.
Oh, he chose Sword this time. He's not going to go with Atomy.
Okay. He's like, you know what? I need to take a break. Makes sense.
He picked a horrible matchup. He's playing mid-range Sword, so...
Yes, he did. And we saw this matchup already play out once in favor of PTP. See if Piao can do it again. I find it interesting. So I had talked a little bit about it yesterday. What do you think of Pure Hardened Singer? What do you think about the card in general? Do you think people should be playing it? Do you like it? Like anything?
I think it's a draft card.
So you don't like it for constructed play?
I think a 3-play point 1/2, even though it draws 2 cards, is not quite good enough in constructed right now. It probably fits in PTP. It probably works fine in PTP, but it's more of a draft card for me personally.
Interesting. Because yesterday we saw a lot of people running it, and it seemed to be like a pretty popular option. So just interesting to see the dissection of thought there.
It's a really good quick blader, actually.
Yeah, probably necessary quick blader to keep value here. And because of it, is really actually going to make that hedgehog turn into a monster. That hedgehog is staying around for a while. Oh, maybe not. Airbound Barrage can change that.
Next turn, yeah.
Next turn, yes.
Pure-Hearted Singer is a +1 though. She replaces herself immediately, and then when she dies, she gets a +1 there. So, not a bad card, obviously.
So elects to not Geno here. Still builds up the little hedgehog though. It's kind of an awkward hand for Pia right now.
Ooh. Got the. Do you ring an Altered Fate?
I don't think you do it on the turn of. I think you have to wait. Because then you obviously give yourself an opportunity to draw it again when she
To draw it again, yeah.
But definitely good to see. Again, we just get to see the power of Mystic Ring in like all of its different variations. Like good in PTP, good in Daria. We saw it in Dragon. I mean, there's just a lot of places where you can just kind of fit it in decks that need that effect. It just helps smooth out your draws.
It's amazing for combo decks, 100%.
I'm interested it's noticeable that we've seen a lack of Mystic Ring in Roach Forest. And in saying that, like, you can really Mystic Ring anything in Forest just to give yourself more tempo, and it's a cheap card to like utilize with a Roach combo. So, but we haven't seen it in pure Roach yet, which is interesting. I think I said interesting like 15 times in that sentence. But
Yeah, probably. I mean, it is to be fair, it is extremely interesting. So
yes. All right, so not a lot of good defensive options here for Piao. Might decide to just Altered Fate this hand away after Mystic Ringing. But also, what are you trying to find? Maybe another Airbound Barrage to kill that Bane?
Don't find anything. Just get rid of Altered Fate. You Mystic Ring, Altered Fate, Fairy Circle, Altered Fate.
Okay.
And then you're really close. Because Mystic Ring's a -1. He goes down to 8 total if he plays Mystic Ring.
That's true. Maybe getting rid of the second Altered Fate. Not a huge deal. Because there would still be one left in the deck.
Okay. That's easy. You can ditch that
play.
for sure. Goes for a Fairy Evolve play.
So maybe not Altered Fating this turn. Maybe going for an Elf Child May. Yep, trying to snipe.
Aw, rip.
A little bit of a whiff, but then gets to build up a nice little board here. So interesting turn there. I like that line of play. Underwear, not with really great options, not with really bad options either. Basically just
Underwear's in a really weird spot. Goes for the Geno. Geno on the 4/3.
Yeah, just trying to present value. Maybe try to build up a big board here to protect with Front Guard General next turn to lead into, like, he's got a good lead in turn here. He's got Front Guard into Fangblade Slayer, into Albert. Probably going to try to conserve that Evo point for Albert, especially after this turn, putting his opponent to 10. That is, of course, unless Piao doesn't really have any answers to this board, which he doesn't at the moment. So I feel like he has to Altered Fate. If he didn't last turn, he definitely has to this turn.
Oh yeah, for sure.
There's that Pixie Mischief.
Fairy Circle, Altered Fate.
Yep, there we go. Let's see. He did draw into an Airbound Barrage and a Roach, so can clear out some things.
And a Fairy Beast as well. So.
And a Fairy Beast for next turn, yep. So, yep, attack, Airbound Barrage, replay the May, hope to get lucky.
Well, enough.
Oh yeah, it doesn't have to get lucky because you get to target.
No,
him.
Air Barrage is a targeted effect.
Yeah, it is perfect. And then can Evo to clear up the entire board if Piao wants.
Can't imagine
think
it
it's
being
necessary.
too bad of a choice. I mean,
It's not
kind of
not bad. But like, how do you
Front
deal
guard
with
general?
the follow-up plays, right? Like, yeah, not
front guard
having
general
an
comes down
easy
to
answer to
that.
front guard. Yeah,
Yeah, because you could evolve the 3/3, going for a 3/3.
right.
Eh.
Because next turn
You
I'm
can't
thinking
evolve
like,
very
okay,
deep, though.
if yeah, well that's the whole option I'm talking about. Like if front guard general comes down next turn, Fairy Beast is literally the only follower in the entire deck big enough with an Evo to take out a front guard general. So it might be the only line of play here, and I think that's what he's thinking about. Oh,
Oh, he goes for it.
all right. So going to be a very hard to deal with front guard general. Basically, might not even be able to deal with any follower that Underwear plays for the rest of the game at this point, without completely roach comboing into it.
Front guard into Albert Novice Trooper. No, he just has Fangblade. Ooh.
Okay. Underwear really showing his preference for playing Mars on turns where he can get value out of him. I've seen that most of the time when he has options to do other things. Maybe just doesn't feel like he's under any pressure to put the front guard general in play. Me looking at the deck list, knowing there's no Evo points left, I probably would have played front guard just because I know there's no way to deal with it.
It does push some pretty good damage here, though, so.
It does, but it doesn't set up a lethal turn, and you already had a lethal setup with Albert anyway. So not a necessary play, I don't think. But not a bad one.
Sure.
It's not like it's going to lose him the game. I think Fairy Beast is kind of a must here, unfortunately. Unless he just wants to try to full clear with Double Roach.
Doesn't go for Fairy Beast. I mean, if you expect Fameblade Slayer, you know if you Fairy Beast, you're just on the same value anyway, so.
That's true. That's true. And I guess he doesn't need to use both Roaches this turn. He does have a trade with his Elf Child May here, so.
Yeah.
We'll have to expend one Roach without playing the Fairy Beast here, knowing that he still has a turn before Albert comes out, so can wait a turn for the Fairy Beast.
Mm-hmm.
Probably thinking about playing maybe the second Wood of Brambles as well, just to make that Elf Child May really easy to play, and then just follow up with a Roach.
Yep, there he goes. Okay, so it goes for the Roach. Okay. Whoa.
It doesn't matter. Either way, they trade the
doesn't
same.
matter. Yeah, double
with the
Bramble.
Mm-hmm.
Interesting, though. I don't really know what, you know. Oh, well.
Yeah. Council of Card Knights showing up. Doesn't necessarily need to be drawn here. There's plenty of gas
Doesn't do
in Underwear's
anything,
hand here. Yeah. Fairy Beast is a must, like we were talking about. And again, unfortunately, though... Oh, okay. I like this line. Alright, recognizes that there is a problem. Wants to get a ton of damage on this front guard so that it can't have the 5 power next turn to go along with Albert to deal 11. I like this play a lot.
Mm-hmm. Also could have bounced Fairy Beast to play it again, but
That's true.
he can do that next turn if he wants to.
Yeah. And I think this actually will prompt something like a Fangblade Slayer just to get the Fairy Beast away so it cannot be played again. Yep.
Right.
And now, Cow is in a really bad spot. Literally has no resources left to actually win the game with. Doesn't have his PTPs. Doesn't have any really way to stabilize against his board. So he draws. Alright, but he does have a Mystic Ring, does have Pure Hearted Singer, does have a few Nature's Guidances to cycle, so he's going to have to draw into something here.
Nature's define natures.
Trying to get a PTP, I would assume.
Rip.
Rip. Not going to be this turn. And yeah, even if he deals with this Fangblade Slayer, like this Albert over the course of 2 turns is going to be too hard to deal with, I think. I don't think there's anything left realistically in Piao's deck to deal with it.
Well, Albert also does enough to put Piao at 1, so
Right.
even if he gets PTP online, Council just wins.
Yeah. And he might not even play Albert this turn. He doesn't have to. He could just play the Council of Card Knights to be super defensive. into even a veteran Lancer just to shore up any possible chance that Piao has to win. Obviously, 2 Roaches are already gone, so Roach combo is kind of out of the question. So there's not really a lot to be afraid of.
Especially since, you know, Piao has got 12 cards left in the deck, and he's not drawing Altered Fate or PTP at all.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so here's a question. So we're assuming that Underwear is probably going to take this win, unless there's some crazy miracle from Piao. Going into the Atomy match versus PTP, who do you think's favorite there? Do you think it's still just a luck of the draw with the Atomy deck? Do you think that it has any type of different game against Forest, especially this particular type, or yeah, just a gamble?
I think that Atomy should win that every time almost.
Really? Okay. Just because maybe PTP takes too long to set up, or
it takes way too long to set up. He still can't draw it. Oh my gosh. He's got 9
this is
cards.
Just not what you want to see. This is what I was talking about. Like, PTP is kind of cool, and like playing all 2 drops and 1 drops is kind of cool, but sometimes that's all you get are your 2 and your 1 drops, and it feels kind of bad. Just doing whatever he can, trying to spike the 2-1. And just playing out cards.
Literally lose to yourself.
Right. So PTP, this particular PTP deck, more than most, actually feels kind of like an Atomy deck, because it's like kind of like a bunch of skeletons and then like your big follower. In this instance, it's PTP instead, and you just didn't draw them. So I think we're
really
basically going to see a
able to
mirror
lose.
match.
He was able to win a really good, really bad matchup also. Like.
Right.
Underwear did not want to find that matchup, and he won it. So
that's right. Did have to win that matchup regardless, and got it out of the way. So now has a pretty decent chance. I would say this is like really 50-50. I think they're both playing Atomy, just in different variations. Yeah, I think it's kind of the same with how Piao built his deck. Like, old PTP decks had a range of options, right? Tias and, you know, trying for maybe Roach comboing more Fairy Beasts, all that kind of stuff. Even Crystalia Errands, like all that stuff. But Piao just completely negated all of that, and like I said, is just playing all 1 and 2 drops with PTP with a Fairy Beast. So a much different version than we've seen in the past.
I don't know. I feel like his quote unquote Atomy is just it's online too slow, I think, compared to real Atomy.
And quite honestly, without Pixie Mischief, if Atomy comes out soon, you're right. There's actually one deck can deal with followers, the other deck can't really.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, there's a Pixie
Never mind.
Mischief. Perfect.
Never mind.
Got it. But there is no Atomy again for Underwear. Just does not like drawing that card. And Caradwin honestly doesn't do much against a bounced Atomy. Gotta wait for that Atomy to die.
He did
Ooh. Okay.
He did it.
On turn 3, here we go.
It's gonna get mischieved, but whatever.
It's gonna get mischieved. This is pretty hilarious. You're like, I just won the jackpot, and then your opponent's just like, sup, bruh? That's gotta feel terrible.
It doesn't matter. He popped a staircase. He can do it again.
That's true.
Yeah, he can do it again.
So he can play 1. He can't do it this turn, but he can do it next turn.
Just play the Spar Toy Soldier. Maybe in Skull Beast. He might not attack a Skull Beast, right? Nah, Skull Beast dies to Warded Brambles and May.
Easy trades.
Squasher and Skull Beast. Those are both gonna get eaten up pretty hard, probably.
Yeah, I don't really mind playing the Soul Squasher against this type of deck, because you're not really worried about expending the shadows on whatever evolved follower that Piao has, considering they're just going to be 1/1s more than likely. So I don't mind expending the Soul Squasher there.
I also love how we've been talking a lot about the Atomy deck, but Piao has drawn both of his Path to Purgatories.
That's true. So both players draw on their endgame stuff.
In the first six cards he had them, I just didn't mention it.
Right.
Piao playing this pretty interestingly. Like, he kept the board alive. So if Atomy comes down, there's a board here that can trade into him. with that
This actually
Brambles.
prevents Atomy from coming down, clearing the entire board, and Underwear not saving any of his followers for this turn. Had to top deck something cheap in order to get that Atomy back out, but didn't.
Mm-hmm.
So actually interesting that he did play out his followers last turn. Maybe not so heads up there. Just
And
trying to play
Brambles
the
is
dodge.
actually a pretty interesting card here. He's going to trade into those skeletons for free.
Mhm.
They can't really do anything.
So I think this is a turn where we will see a Path to Purgatory come down because he just drew the Altered Fate, and there's not really amazing plays outside of that.
Mm-hmm.
Could go for a full Wood of Brambles. Okay, I don't mind this either. Just
Yeah,
keep
fill
the
the
board
board, you
clean.
can trade for days.
May the forest be at peace.
And also on 6 play points, you can just go, Path to Purgatory, Altered Fate.
Also, just really making it tough for Underwear to play these Atomies again. Like, super tough. Wood of Brambles showing
Next turn,
off yet again.
Staircase. Yeah, you can't get it out. Like, it's not gonna happen.
Oh, this will summon a Chimera, I believe.
I'm gonna borrow this.
Into a Haunted House, which doesn't really do anything. Actually, it can do something this turn. That Clash effect, though, is killing that Haunted House.
Piao with the BM. Better than expected. Better than expected.
I'm gonna rest. I'm coming.
So this will have to go face, because it cannot trade,
Yeah, poor
unfortunately.
ghosts.
And next turn, finally, unless Piao does what he's been showing that he will do, is just keep continuing to clear the board. Atomy might be able to come out next turn, but also might not be able to. Would have to
He also could just die. So-
He also could just die. That's true. So yeah, actually, I think you don't need to play the kind of footsie game anymore. Maybe even just PTP Altered Fate and not be afraid.
Mhm.
But also, I mean, I don't see any problem with just denying followers on the side of Underwear and just maintaining control for turn after turn, because the closer you can get to the Path of Purgatory, the better, right?
Hey, let's play.
Right, use the wood. Looks like he's gonna Fairy Evolve instead. Okay, interesting. He's gonna clear the Bone Chimera completely.
Sparkly.
I like the play. And this is kind of where Spartoy Soldier is kind of showing that it's kind of an awkward card because it costs so much. It's being really prohibitive on the Staircase popping makes everything super easy, but it's kind of prohibitive on like even turn 6 and before to try to play multiple things in a single turn to try to pop Atomy.
It is, yeah, in the early game, yep. Spartoy Soldier's strength really kind of comes from the fact that it trades with a lot of sword followers.
Yep,
Without
good against
dying
aggro
with it.
sword, and it does build shadows for Tyrant, so it's not the worst card by any means. Just interesting choice.
Right, true. Tyrant's something we haven't mentioned in a while, even though he's still a realistic thing, and now that 18 shadows have shown up, very realistic.
Yep, this is a game where Tyrant could actually do something.
For you.
There we go.
It's your boy,
Mi-
Atomy.
Missed ya. And Wood of Brambles finally gonna run out of gas here, so no more free trades for Piao.
Altered Fate immediately
Oh my
doesn't find
goodness.
Mischief.
Does find another Altered Fate though,
He did.
and a
Can't
Fairy
get 20
Circle
can't
and
get
Wood of
30 shadows with
Brambles.
it, though. Yeah,
Yeah.
but he can't get 30 shadows with it.
Not this turn. Yeah, these goblins are just looking super awkward to me.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, goodness. I think that's realistically the only play, though. I think you Fairy Circle, Wood of Brambles, and then Altered Fate, and then just hope you kind of get there. Fill up ye old hand, and ditch it all. Didn't play the Fairy Circle. Maybe, what do you think he's looking for there? Maybe an Airbound Barrage?
Probably, yeah.
Take out the Atomy? Yep,
Yeah.
exactly it. And he got there. And next turn he will be in Path to Purgatory range. So this is a big turn for Underwear. He's got to make something happen here. And Atomy might be the only thing, because it's the only thing in his deck that kind of survives to the Path to Purgatory popping. So he's got to Atomy again.
Yep. which isn't that bad. It means it's 24 shadows. If Atomy lives and attacks, and he top decks Tyrant, then
Yep. So I think Staircase has to come down here with the Atomy in order to try to tutor the Deathly Tyrant, and that is the route to victory here. I think it's the only one. I think Underwear's just going over his plans right now. Yep, sees the same
for
line.
sure.
And then he can
play
put
this
up a
ward
ward to
if he wants
protect.
to, yeah.
Yep. I would.
I am
Oh.
the Shining.
I don't know why he didn't play the ward there. This opens not only Roach up to being able to kill the Atomy, but just leaving it defenseless regardless. So that damage is not going to be dealt.
Just gonna
we do see a
imagine it
Roach in
was
here.
like, yeah, I don't know. I guess he just wanted the 2/2 instead of the 1 attack on the board, like 2 attack on board instead of 2.
But
Or
the
2 attack on
1
board.
damage versus 2, I don't think really matters when you consider that Deathly Tyrant is the out here.
What if he
because,
doesn't find
again,
it?
Well, that's true. If he doesn't find it, he needs to deal damage, I guess. But I don't think 1 or 2 is a big difference because that
Probably
1 or
not.
2 essentially is saying, I don't mind losing my 8 damage, which is a lot more than 1 or 2.
Underwear actually almost triggered PTB first, which is like
That's true. That's true. They're
That's
both very
insane.
good at generating shadows. They just do different things with them. All right, building up to 30 shadows a fancy way. Overdrawn a fairy there.
he's gonna use the Roach to attack the Atomy here, so he'll die to PTP.
And this will set up basically a lethal game plan. There's gonna have to be like double Tyrant realistically to win this game now, because nothing is gonna be able to stay on play on the side of Underwear.
Ooh,
And gets a
Fairy Beast
Fairy
is gonna be
Beast.
pretty
So-
good.
I think that's actually a game-winning Fairy Beast. I think even now a Tyrant gets played. Well, no, actually it's not because the Tyrant's a 13-13.
No, it's not.
What am I saying?
Tyrant's
Yeah.
13-13, yeah.
Nope.
Hey,
Oh,
you got it!
He
Woo!
got it. All right. So that was step 1. And we already know that Piao got rid of his other PTP. So he's got to top deck a Roach here. Okay, he did. But can he get through the ward now as well? So Underwear finally getting that ward out on a very appropriate turn.
There is absolutely one way to get rid of it, and it's with Elf Song. I think
With
May
the
has
Wood
the
of
hit
Brambles.
also.
Yeah, this is it right here.
Yeah.
I don't think so, right? Elf Song?
No,
attack?
yeah, double Elf Song.
Roach.
Double Elf Song, my bad. Yeah.
Awesome. What an awesome game.
Oh my gosh, dude.
What a freaking awesome game.
Oh my gosh.
Tyrant versus PTP both go off. And I realistically feel like the biggest thing that happened that could have changed was Underwear not playing that ward to protect his Atomy. He would have won the game on the spot.
What the heck did I just watch?
Right?
That is not a matchup you watch in 2017, okay?
No, it's not.
That is some NGE Shadowverse Open 2017 North American gameplay right there. That's what that was.
Tried and true. Is the pride of North America right there on the line. Underwear gets knocked out of there, and Piao's doing really well for himself. Now moves on to the losers finals and has to await the loser between Icy Stars and Red. And I'm actually really liking how that kind of played out. It does seem like PTP just has this kind of impending doom to it that I don't really feel the same threat from Atomy, and maybe it's just because of the way that the Atomy deck is set up with the balance between Deathly Tyrant and
If
itself.
Pixie Mischief, the one Pixie Mischief, was not drawn as early as it was that game, that Atomy would have just straight up won the game.
Oh, it was so
That
over.
is very true.
So over. Yeah,
That is very true.
definitely.
And Pixie Mischief's bounce is random on your opponent's side.
Yes.
So the fact that the Atomy was alone meant that it was...
Well, he kills everything else. So,
Yeah.
you know.
I've had it happen to me before, and it feels like this. You're like, Atomy on turn 3, and then you get Pixie Mischief, and it's just like...
GIF it! Somebody GIF it! Alright, let's take a look at the brackets. And there's only 3 players left. Icy Stars, Red, and Piao Douyu TV. Who is going to be the top 2 that goes to Season 3, to Starforged Legends season? We'll have to wait and find out. But all other teams are out. It's just Mana Surge, that is of old, and they are on the upper finals. So now's the time, the relevant question. You guys have had time to think about it. Icy Stars or Red, who do you think is making it into Season 3? Because one of them has to. There has to be a winner.
Well, I'll give NV a little bit more time to think here. So personally, because of attachment, I want to see Icy Stars win. He used to be a part of the Shadow Nexus. He wanted to get more competitive, so he moved on to Mana Surge. I used to play test a lot with him. I used to converse a lot with him. I think he's a great person, and this is his time. I need to see him get into one of these, playoff situations. I really think it will make him a better player because he's an aggro player. This will help him learn and branch out and become a better player, and he's one of those players I want to see it happen for.
What about for you, MV?
I can't pick Stars after that. I mean, come on. There's too much passion in EXO's explanation of why Stars should win, so I have to go with Red.
Oh my gosh. Envy's trying to ruin your day. EXO. That is Envy's mission in this world.
Turn the lights out. He's like, whatever. I'll make my room dark. It'll fit my mood.
It's dark EXO time.
Yeah. All right, we're jumping into the game. Is it going to be Icy Stars or Red? Who is going to be moving on to Season 3? And of course, that means that that doesn't necessarily mean that the other one is out, right? It just means that this player is guaranteed to move on. So the bans are out. Runecraft is gone, and Swordcraft is gone. How do you guys feel about that? What do you think about the banning strategy here for both players?
I feel like both of them have Aldos. And
yeah, and both of them have Aldos. I was literally going to say that. I'm so angry and so happy all at the same time right now.
Gosh darn it, why can't I have Aldos? I don't even play Dragon.
Right?
I would play Dragon if I had Aldos.
Oh my goodness. Anyway, you'll guys see, if you don't know what we've been talking about, once you see a follower evolved on either side, you'll see exactly what we're talking about. It's pretty impressive. But the ban strategy, I think, is interesting. So Icy Stars' sword got banned out. Perfect ban from Red. Red knows that's his best deck. Get it out of here. But not banning sword on the return from Icy Stars is interesting. Maybe he feels like the sword deck is not that big of a deal against his lineup, which it might not be.
Might not be. That rune is an interesting ban. I'm gonna go research that rune.
Yeah.
Find out.
That's right. Do some research. Let us know what it is.
Yeah.
What's interesting that we see in hand here is Icy Stars has 2 Ouroboros in hand, along with Staircase. So very interesting differentiation from all the PDK that we've been seeing.
It is, yeah.
But still playing Staircase. Regardless of if you're playing, combo cards or not, you're still playing Staircase, and we're seeing it a lot more.
Oh.
Like we said earlier, just a good card.
That's right. We saw this. We saw Red play this earlier. It's just it's the D shift that has Chimera, big Chimera, owls, all kinds of stuff in it.
Yeah. I thought you were talking about Icy Stars, but yeah. He's playing Daria. But yeah. So yeah, D shift, Daria. So banning out D shift, very interesting choice, and that's kind of a heads up.
I told you D shift can have good matchups.
He's playing Ram Dragon, and that, like you said, that is a good matchup. So very good ban. Very good ban.
Well, it can be. I don't know. Stars is also playing Ouroboros, and Ouroboros is kind of annoying since Fiery Embrace doesn't really get rid of it. But that's another.
But he's not playing like Genesis Dragons and Fortes and all the stuff that you really want to see against each other. So much different style here.
True.
Okay, so maybe he is playing some number of Fortes. This is the deck that got banned out from Icy Stars before, so didn't know he was running those, but is.
Or I'm wrong, okay.
Yeah, or I'm just completely wrong. No big deal. I do think...
Polyphonic is interesting. I like that.
Yeah, it's regular Ramp Dragon. He just has his own spice to it. I really think that Ramp Dragon has a great matchup against PDK. This is one of those decks that I'm saying if you build it correctly, it just runs over a certain type of deck because it has access to a bunch of board clears, a lot more late game. However, we do see Icy Stars with a lack of something that you'd want to see right now in Bahamut.
Bahamut, but he is triggering. He's gonna probably draw it this turn because he's triggering Staircase, which is infinitely incredible. And there he goes. Okay.
Yes, so much card draw right on the last card. Easy. He even has Queen of the Dread Sea to do some combolicious stuff. Oh,
whoa!
What?
My God! What in the world is this?
Right now, he's like, you know what? I'm just gonna win. I don't even care.
What in the world is Stars doing?
At all. They're emoting to each other back and forth.
Dragoon Scyther! Oh no!
This really makes me feel like Icy Stars has played this matchup a bunch with Red. This also makes me think he got a little too greedy though. Like, yes, that's a good play, but like you had to have full hand with tons
There's
of
no
options.
way Red didn't have Dragoon Scyther there. Like, come on.
To be fair though, Polyphonic Roar is insane, and it can help him win this game. But I really don't like that play from Icy Stars.
That play is extremely, extremely,
Greedy.
cocky, ballsy. Yeah, greedy.
Cocky,
yeah.
ballsy, greedy, whatever you want to call
All
it.
synonyms to what that play was.
That's right. That's right. So now this basically opens up room for Red to just kind of smush with his Storm followers.
Ooh.
Okay.
Okay. That's.
And this
That's
is
something.
the Aldos evolve that we like.
He's gonna Bahamut this turn.
What?
But I mean, it doesn't even matter, right? So like, just absolutely insane gameplay this game. I think they're both kind of trolling each other, even on this stage.
They are.
I kind of like
They
it.
are.
I kind of like it.
This is not that great. Like if Stars just top deck support wise, the game is just over.
And realistically,
Red's
I
got
meing, with the Genesis Dragon in hand, he can just attack with it twice, and that Bahamut's not going anywhere.
What to do?
Some breath.
Doesn't play Genesis Dragon.
I will grant you a fitting defeat.
Am confused by that play. I would have played Genesis Dragon and gone face there.
Yeah, it would have been it would have died, but it would have been better, I think.
And this is opening up Bahamut to be killed. But this does give an opportunity for Genesis Dragon to be played.
Honestly, Bahamut dying was probably part of the plan, really.
Yeah.
It took way too many cards.
Greetings.
River doesn't matter. Genesis Dragon? Evolve phase?
Yep. Might not even evolve. Doesn't really need to.
Well,
I
if he
guess it
doesn't
would-
evolve, it wouldn't matter.
That's true. It does
'Cause
allow
now
for
this
Genesis.
one can. Yeah.
Exactly.
The retaliation Genesis Dragon.
So maybe Evoing there was the optimal play. So Icy Stars, I think, had this game in the bag and just like did a whole bunch of stuff to just like throw it away. He could still win with the top deck. It's not over, but I think he did his best to try to throw this game.
He did his best to try and throw the game. Oh boy.
I'm surprised that our spectator client hasn't bugged out yet by all these emotes back and forth. You guys
Yeah,
are
that's
going
actually
nuts.
what happened. Yeah, if the spectator gets it hates emotes. Maybe it has
Oh.
bugged out. Maybe that's why Stars is making such odd plays. It just bugged out.
That's right, and it's not actually him playing, it's just some robot.
Yeah, it's a different dimension, really.
Okay.
What a
so
game.
This game turned into something that you normally would see, just like, Ramp Dragon doing Ramp Dragon things, into like off the top craziness.
Stars ditched his entire hand and got Red to fall down to similar card hands, like card size. Like
Yeah.
he had no
And that-
hand.
Not killing the Sybil here and playing his own Sybil. Oh my goodness. I think this is just doom here now. Like, okay.
There's two
Can
words
I
that
see
describe
Stars?
this game, and it's
Yeah.
Clown Fiesta.
Clown Fiesta, absolutely. Not to say that either of these players are clowns. I think they're teammates, they're having fun with each other, and that's exactly all that's happening.
Look, he's at 12 cards left in his deck. Stars has drawn his entire deck, I think. Like,
The flames are like a god on
what in the world? If he top decks a Bahamut, I mean, it'll get Scyther,
Yeah.
but
We
still have a
we'll
game.
get side third, but we'll still have a game. And there is still one Bahamut and Icy Stars deck.
Grimner doesn't do anything.
to strike
It does put up a blocker, but of course with the Scyther that we know that's in hand, we'll end the game.
Worthy of praise.
Oh my goodness. And another Bahamut for good measure.
I honestly half expected him to play the Bahamut.
Right? We're gonna extend this game even further. What a crazy game.
The
All right,
epitome
all
of
right.
tournament gameplay right there.
We had our fun, guys. Let's rein it back. Let's settle in. Let's get competitive now. Come on. Let's go, guys.
To be fair,
I-
you know, Stars could have won had Red not just darn nabbit drew that Dragoon Scyther on 9 cards. So if you
It's
hadn't
true.
had that that one copy of a 3 play point card in the top
It's true.
12.
You must die.
But we can see Ramp Dragon again against an even technically worse matchup here. Aggro Sword against Dragon is highly dependent on the cards that Dragon draws, especially being on the draw here. It doesn't mean he's going to lose, but it means that he's at a big disadvantage. He does have the ramp and he does have Lyriel though, so he's not in the worst spot. Has some of the cards he needs.
Yeah, Lyriel's a pretty important card. But Sword being on the play, ooh.
Okay. Pretty good
I
now.
was gonna say Sword being on the play is pretty big, but Blazing Breath stops Centaur Vanguard top decks.
What?
Yep.
Which
and
he-
then actually just has a nice little curve of cards to play now. Has 2 Lyriels for first evolves just to help clear up the board. Has some ramp on turns that he can find time to play it.
You are worthy of praise.
Excellent work.
Continuing to emote each other. So never mind. Scrap the whole competitive play aspect. They're just,
Oh, yeah,
just
no,
gonna
they're
play
still
FPS the
trolling.
whole time. I love
They're
it.
still trolling, yep. Ephemera, ooh.
Oh my goodness. This is the
Juliet
hand you
will
want.
die, but Ephemera, oh my gosh.
This is definitely the draw you want to see.
Yeah, for sure.
Excellent
It's gonna
work.
put him to 11 next turn and then Council.
Romeo,
We'll put him to 9.
Alright.
Oathless Knight, very, very dead. Very dead card.
Yeah, not a card you want to draw here, but again, already has Council, so not the biggest of deals.
What?
Excellent
So I think
work.
Lyriel plus Oracle this turn.
Mhm.
Forge yourself.
And this is actually this is starting to look up for Icy Stars. Next turn he can Fervor with impunity pretty much. There's not like heavy damage coming out next turn.
I mean, it's going to
Um,
7. I don't know about that.
Well, you know.
This is
damage,
100% up to what Red draws. If Red keeps drawing stuff like this,
Okay.
yeah, this
Oh,
is 100% up to the Sword player and how this game goes right now. Not going good for Stars. Oh my gosh,
No.
That top deck is literally insane.
it's what Red does, man. Aggro decks do that, man. That's the game.
Okay.
You can't.
Icy Stars had an okay draw, but MS Red being on the play, getting the actual perfect draw. 1 through 5.
Yeah, he got a pretty good draw.
Is this
It was
as
okay.
far as I
He's gonna surrender
No,
because you
he's
let him
dead.
hit him.
Knows he's dead. Icy Stars
Oh gosh.
quickly going down to the loser side of things, but still has a chance to come back, so don't count him out yet.
Mm-hmm. Just the losers bracket. It's fine.
Talk to
Yeah,
me, Rainey.
exactly.
What did you think
Yeah.
about that
What do
Dragon matchup? You tell me, because we're commentators. You know, people might say that we were bashing on them for being a little too clown fiesta, but there maybe that's just the way they play. Like, what do you think about that game?
I think it was great. I got very well acquainted with all the fantastic voice lines that Aldos has to offer. I think that's
true. Yeah.
I think that's really great. I think, you know, in a Dragon Mirror matchup, but I don't know, I mean, you know, Icy Stars is a very aggressive player, and I don't know how much kinds of, you know, late game he plays, but definitely it feels like in a Dragoncraft Mirror, you're wanting to hold as many options as you can, right? Because it's a back and forth between, like, we're all playing big fat options, and we're just going to see who has the higher number of them. So I don't know if discarding your hand at that time is really what you want to be doing.
Well, there's
No.
2 things about that turn that don't make sense to me. One, he discarded his entire hand, which I don't think you should do, first of all. And secondly, he played Polyphonic Roar as his second card instead of Ouroboros. I think Ouroboros actually would have been a much better fit that game than the Polyphonic Roar, because Polyphonic Roar presents a threat that you can kind of deal with, whereas Ouroboros will continuously deal with small threats that PDK has while also presenting this
That's
huge
true.
threat that you have to deal with.
Yeah.
So, I don't know, just double interesting choice that game. But first of all, I would not have played Queen of the Dread Sea, but that's just me, I guess. I don't know.
Queen of the Dread Sea is a thing of the past already?
Not a thing of the past.
when you
I
have
don't
a
mean
full
in the
hand,
deck. I just
like-
mean that turn.
Ah, I see.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it. Well, let's take a look at the bracket as Icy Stars will fall to losers, and that means Mana Surge Red is now in Season 3. in the Starforged Legends season of the Shadowverse Open, and he is well positioned to take first place in this particular qualifier. Icy Stars down in the losers bracket now has to face off against Piao, who admittedly has been playing very well today, and I really like his PTP Forest deck. I think it's very threatening, and I just feel like Piao's deck lineup is something that is unique out of all the other decks that we've seen today.
Yes.
I really think Piao is very dangerous. What do you guys think about this particular match here? Who do you think is going to be eliminated? And if it's possible for Icy Stars or Piao to come back in the grand final to take first place over Red?
So
I don't know. I mean, Piao's lineup last expansion would have been called memes, so I've gotta
Right,
cheer for him completely, 100%.
I've got to say that maybe there was some. I'm not going to say collusion because that's putting thoughts out there that don't really need to be out there.
Whoa.
But
Collusion.
maybe I think Icy Stars lineup is actually insane versus Piao's lineup, and that might have been something that was happening at last match. But well, you know what? We're gonna throw that away. That's not happening. I think that Icy Stars actually has an insane advantage in this matchup. He's got really aggressive decks against Piao, and as we've seen, Piao does not really fare well against the more aggressive decks. He can handle the mid range, he can handle some aggression, but not these hyper aggressive decks that Stars is bringing. So I think he's at an extreme disadvantage.
All right, well, we'll see if that's the case as we try to get this lobby set up. But we're down to the final 3 players, and I think it's really interesting that the North American qualifiers have ended like this. The story of Europe so far seems to always be new faces, new talent, new people coming into the scene. Akamaru Red, new to the Shadowverse competitive, and ended up taking the championship. While North America seems to be about old names and players with veteran experience, right? Jay-Z, 2 seasons in a row, and then also these qualifiers just chock filled with representatives of Mana Surge, one of the most tried and true teams in the competitive Shadowverse community, and it seems to be filled with these players. And Mana Surge is definitely, just in terms of a numbers game, well positioned to have 2 people enter into the qualifiers or enter into the season from this first week. What do you guys feel about the kind of? Is there, for example, with Shadow Nexus, one of the things that you guys do is develop a lot of new players. What do you think the new talent needs to do to kind of fight their way past the old guard, so to speak, Exodian?
Well, I think Piao is showing a really nice example of it. He's a new player that is not afraid to build his own decks, not play meta, and do really well with it. So I think that's a huge thing that you can do as a new player. Do the unexpected. Akamaru Red, even when he was interviewed, said this. Like, what he's scared of is the new players, not the returning players, because they're unknowns. That I don't know how they play. I don't know what to expect from them. If you bring your own decks that you know how to win with against the current meta game, I think you have a huge edge on all of these old protectors of the season. You know what I mean? Like you just do things that are unexpected. You make plays that are unexpected. You have decks that they haven't play tested against, so it puts them at a disadvantage. It's just all good things. If you're a new player, I really feel like you have the most significant advantage going into the season.
All right. Well, the lobby is ready, and we're gonna jump into this game and close out the losers finals. NV, PTP Force is something that you really, really love. What do you think is giving it such an advantage in this particular meta? Is it just the introduction of things like Elf Song and all these low-cost amulets and kind of token generation? What is it that's changed for PTP Forest that has made it not as crazy to run?
The matchups that you're hitting, being able to ban something is a pretty big deal. I don't see a lot of these tournament decks that we see from like even Japan, EU, and NA, not all of them are great to toss in the ladder. I think honestly a lot of the success from some of these decks comes from having a ban. So, yeah.
Well, you heard it here first. Don't run PTP on ladder.
I don't advise it. No,
not recommended. Instead, you should run this particular Forestcraft deck that includes Silverbolt and Elephant.
Yeah,
King.
run
Rainy's deck. We should put that.
Is it mine?
Plastered on the stream.
Patented.
I'm definitely labeling it yours because it's definitely not mine.
Link
it's
deck
not mine.
code. Link deck code.
It's not mine.
Everybody should be playing this list. It's sick. It's great. I love it.
I would love that, really. I would.
Yeah.
All right. Well, these players will definitely not be playing it because it is inadvisable. But Piao versus Icy Stars here. Going to start out with Forestcraft against Ramp against Dragon. Take it away, guys.
And again, we see Sword not being banned. I think that was the best deck against Piao, and he just decided to leave it in play and ban out the Daria deck instead, which is a little bit more random on how good it can be. What do you think about that ban?
That's really weird. Like, Daria is a bit faster than mid-range Sword, but I mean, it's similar in the sense that if they are slow for some reason and you end up getting PTP online, they can't do anything to you, where Sword can just, you know, storm follower after storm follower after storm follower, so
Right.
I don't know.
And we've already seen Piao lose to aggro Sword with his Haven deck. So I don't like the ban here. So Icy Stars having the advantage is kind of even pushed further now with the fact that PTP is not a good matchup for Dragon because of Bahamut's versus PTP, and that Haven deck is not a good matchup for the Sword deck. So I think that the bans even helped Icy Stars even more out.
Some very interesting bans for sure. Piao's Dragon is gone as well, so he's forced to play. You know, Aegis Haven has kind of an okay Ramp Dragon matchup. It's not PDK Dragon, it's Ramp Dragon, so you know, it can do stuff, but it's not the best in the world.
Which I think Piao's plan was, I think knowing how Icy Stars has been playing has generally led with Sword, so didn't want to lead with the Haven deck to try to kind of beat it out with PTP. But Icy Stars throwing the little wrench in the plan by playing Dragon, so essentially if he wins this Dragon matchup, he's going to have both of his good matchups here.
That's true. It is true. I mean, even going back to bans just one more time, just a little touch up. Aegis Haven, I think, honestly destroys Daria. So I really, really, really don't understand not letting Daria through.
Right.
But yeah, we'll see how it works out for him.
We'll see how it works out. So as we
It's
can
a
see,
bold
Icy
strategy, Exo.
Right, exactly. It's a very bold strategy. Icy Stars doesn't have a ton of ramp, but he has a lot of explosive followers. But those explosive followers might not mean a lot if these fairies can generate enough damage fast enough. So this is actually kind of a nice spot for Piao to be in, unless, of course, we see Sybil or Fervor or something off the top to kind of accelerate Icy Stars' game plan.
And we don't. We see a trading Forte.
Yep.
Wow.
This is a feels bad Forte here. Oh, he's going
Or
face.
Face Forte.
So
Yeah, that's a
basically
face
just saying I
Forte.
don't want to do nothing with my turn here. Which is interesting because he could have just waited a turn and played it on 7 because he doesn't have a turn 7 play either.
He's
So
going to
this
draw
is
a bunch
making
of
me-
followers next turn. So
He is. Maybe that was the whole entire point. He wanted to pop that staircase immediately. That makes sense. That makes a whole lot of sense, because especially if he can pop that and get something like a Sybil finally, or a Sybil plus something, or an Iella, or anything of that nature, he can just accelerate his game plan. So this is a pretty nice play. I didn't think about it that way.
Piao could pop a Roach down this turn if he really, really, really wanted to push damage, but I don't know if it's worth it. Nah, he probably will, actually. I think he will. Go for 4 on the Roach?
I don't see why not. This is a ton of damage.
Yeah, why
here.
not? Yeah. Put him at 2? No, never mind. Okay.
Doesn't matter either. This is setting up lethal pretty much every single turn for the rest of the game now.
Mm-hmm.
So really solid aggro game plan. So Piao finally showing us the other side of this PTP deck in the fact that it can just be highly aggressive.
Blazing Breath evolves Sybil to kill the 3/3, heal for 3 to 9. I don't think that's enough, is it?
At the dance's end.
Let's see. So he can play Elf Song into... Well, he needs 5 for the combo. So you can play Fairy and then Roach combo, which will be 2, followed by 4, which is 6, 7, 8, 9.
Nature's
plenty
the
of
Roach
damage.
evolve, yeah. Yeah.
Yep. Plenty of
Because he
damage.
has the nature in too.
So turning a bad matchup into a great one with a great aggressive draw here. So Piao flipping the script. I like it. And then actually gets kind of a good matchup, like you said, in Aegis versus Dragon. So we'll really see if the crutch
not.
for Icy Stars, maybe it's just Icy Stars is a really good aggro player, hasn't played a lot of Dragon, and, you know, is just not faring very well with it.
I can't imagine Piao not winning with Aegis Haven, getting to play it twice. Like, I think Sword is a bad matchup. I don't know
Mhm.
anybody who thinks it's not. I don't know what ladder they're playing right now, but
Right.
Dragon matchup is good. Stars is not playing PDK; he's playing like regular sort of ramp deck, so that matchup is good.
And being on the play is highly important here, mostly because of Dragon Ramp. So Dragon Ramp being on the play has an extreme advantage because it can get to its late game super fast. The faster it can get its high threats out before Aegis comes down, the better. And it looks like he mulled perfectly into double ramp here. So doing exactly what he wants to do as the Dragon player, even a staircase for one.
Very nice. Piao does have Black Inscripture in case Ayala comes down, which is fairly relevant.
And has globes to start off the game. So both players kind of having what they need at the beginning of the game.
Stars already on 5. Man, if that Ayala wasn't going to get banished, ooh boy. He could be on 7 by the time Piao was on 4.
Ayala quickly coming down. That is for sure getting Black Inscripture. It is not for sure getting Black Inscripture, at least not yet.
Yeah, well, Stars can't evolve it anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. Oh my gosh, double Dragon Oracle.
There are Urds in Icy Stars deck, though. So
that's true, yeah, there are. That is true, yeah.
Giving Icy Stars a possibility of an extra rank there. I kind of like saving Beast Call Arias for late game anyway against Ramp Dragon, just to like prevent Bahamut plays and stuff, but I guess Piao decides he wants to go a little bit more aggressive with his Beast Call here.
I don't think it matters to evolve this to get rid of Lyriel.
I don't think so. I think this is one that you can let go by. Yep, Piao agrees. And now we're going to see if Icy Stars can draw into anything. Okay. That's pretty good.
Fervor. That's starting it. Sybil
That's pretty
Lyriel.
good. So going to be on 10 next turn. Very good spot to be. Decides to go aggressive with this Lyriel.
Icy Stars will have 10 usable play points. The turn after Piao just got to 5.
Yep, that's kind of how it is. However, there isn't really this big end game that you'd want to see. Like, there's no Ouroboros in hand. There's no Bahamuts. There's no, like, anything crazy at the moment. So still has to top deck into something. That staircase is a little ways off from actually popping. I can't really say I agree with the evolve on the Lyriel either. I don't think it's necessary to get that extra point of damage in early. And it uses up an Evo point before, like, the big battle turns happen.
It's possible he's just trying to get Piao to evolve into it and kill it, because triggering that staircase ASAP is one of Stars' win cons right now, to find Genesis Dragon with it.
It could just be that I'm completely oblivious to playing with staircase in this type of a deck and just not realizing that you want to present your followers as threats to get it to pop as early as possible. So
that Polyphonic Roar was such an incredible top deck.
Yeah, that just turned this game into a really good game for Icy Stars. Polyphonic Roar being one of the best cards against Haven.
And Piao now has an incredible board going, but I mean, any moment Bahamut can be top decked.
That's a good thing though. Like, Dark John could easily just be an Ektar for Piao here and just win again in a fashion that you don't expect Aegis to win. And as a matter of fact, there's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 damage on the side of Piao next turn.
Well, not anymore.
Will he clear?
Or no, wait, he does still have it. You're right. Never mind, because he has Evolve left. Yeah.
Okay, so he did clear. I was going to say, he has shown to be aggressive here, so if he left that 4 or 5 in play, that would have just been game. However, with Dark John this turn and Taurus
I mean,
next
that still
turn,
wipes the board. Yeah, that's still really good.
This is insane, actually. Is Taurus going to be the victor for Piao 2 times in a row?
Oh my gosh. You evolve Aether White Wing here? You get full stats. You put him at 2. You don't really have to, honestly. You put him at 2.
You don't have to. Yeah, you've got the Taurus.
I mean, that would go around a Sybil, kinda. It's gonna do it.
Oh my goodness.
Gonna put him at 2. Taurus is gonna win.
This is insanity.
Taurus is gonna win. Oh
Haven?
my god. Oh wait, no.
Oh, that's 12 damage.
Oh, he doesn't have an evolve. Yeah, he doesn't evolve.
There's no evolve.
Oh my gosh.
Haven? Wait a minute. Is Haven just right now? Is Haven gonna beat Polyphonic Roar super early? Like that is incredible.
Wow.
And Igus deck. Dude, Taurus the Great. Dark John? Are you kidding me?
I mean, let's be for real. Dark John right there was the play, right?
It was
Like,
the business. It was the best play ever. Clear your opponent's board, attack for $1 billion. Let's go.
that was a product of Aether White Wing flooding the board with big beefy stuff, right? And then
Yeah, that's
Dark
right.
John doing her thing.
Taurus the Great. Animated, beautiful, in there.
Animated, beautiful, and in there.
That's right. Let's go.
One day, we would all like an animated, beautiful Taurus in there for all of us. But Piao takes the win.
Yeah.
The Ether of the White Wing deck definitely had its troubles, right? Both in, I feel like it was so not prominent in EU that, it really was struggling, I feel like. But Piao makes it look like it's, obviously he's won every kind of match he's come across.
This is why I love new players. Piao completely flipping the script on everything I thought about that matchup. Apparently, he just knew what he was doing way more than me, which is I'm completely fine with. He's the competitive player, right? And just showing us how it's done. You know what I mean? Like doing something I didn't think was possible with the matchup and just making it look easy. Like absolutely incredible to me. Like Piao is somebody to watch out for.
Do you think a reordering on the Polyphonic Roar could have changed that matchup? Because typically I feel like Polyphonic Roar is actually really good in
No,
the.
I like I said, as soon as Polyphonic Roar came down, I thought Icy Stars had it in the bag. Like that's usually how it goes against Haven.
That top tip looked insane. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And then as it shows, Piao's just like, nope, I know how to win this game. Don't you worry. Cleric Lancer's a boss. So is Dark John. So is Taurus. Let's go.
The stats on Cleric Lancer certainly are insane, and being able to kind of have multiple ways to search it out with the Ether of the White Wing is super important. But let's go to the bracket, and that's going to mean that our two finalists are going to be Mana Surge's Red and Piao at WTV, and Icy Stars falls to the wayside, and so he was so close, just one match closer, and I think this really kind of betrays a tournament. Like, obviously, all these players are very, very good, right? But there's a certain level of discipline and play that you have to be operating at to be a tournament winner. I think with the World Grand Prix on the line, a lot of these players are playing their hearts out, and you can come really close, but you can fall just short. So Mana Surge, Red, and Piao at WTV are going to be the two qualified players from Week 1 of the North American qualifiers, and now they're going to have to fight out to see who will be first and who will be second in this particular week. And they're going to have to figure out what they want to do for the Contenders Cup as well. So we could see one of them flying out to Tokyo. Before we jump into the grand finals, we're going to have a little commercial break, regaling my story of finding the ultimate carrot, which is the most scary
Best
thing.
Commercial.
Yeah, I can't. I would not recommend you find the carrot. Just run. That's the best way to handle it if you ever encounter a carrot. But let's talk a little bit about the match before we go here. I just want to get some initial thoughts. Piao has done very well coming from the loser's end of the bracket. Do you think there is a way? What is the world where he can win twice in a row, 2 matches against Red? How do you think these deck lineups match up against each other? Do you think Piao has a chance here? Exodium, let's start from you.
Well, I think his matchup is better than it was last matchup. I thought last matchup was terrible for Piao, and he showed that it was easy for him. I think that this matchup is better, so I think that he has a fine chance. With the way he's been playing and what he's shown, like, he's my new favorite. Like, I want to see Piao win. This guy is awesome.
What about for you, Envy?
I agree. Like, Icy Stars sent him to losers. He came back and 2-0'd Icy Stars in losers to go fight his teammate. Piao, I think as long as he bans Sword should be... Well, you can't ban, actually, in the grand finals. You can't ban Sword. I'm sorry,
no, it's
Piao.
best of 3. So they're actually
lose to Sword on purpose.
Okay.
Just throw it. Just sandbag it. And then, I don't know. He should be fine. I believe in him.
Well, we'll see. Envy, thank you so much for all your hard work casting today. We're actually going to be bringing on a special guest when we come back from this commercial break. The Season 1, Season 2, the 2-time champion, Mana Surge's Jay-Z, is going to talk about his own teammate and Piao in kind of the tournament today. No, we are not violating.
Vile Envy.
No, that is not happening. It is not what is happening. All right, well, we'll get to see MV
Bye,
next
MV.
week. So thank you very much for that. When we come back from commercials, Jay-Z will be joining us. We'll see you in a bit. All we have to do to defeat the ultimate carrot is banish it. Hey! Whoa! No. Don't you do it. That's an heirloom. You'll pay for that. Join the fight for the Starforged Legends season of the Shadowverse Open starting October 7th. All right, we are back, and joining us is Mana Surge's Jay-Z, and Exodium is still here with us, but, oh my god, look at his lower third, Season 2 NA champion. Jay-Z, what is, just because I think that's a beautiful title to give you, but what is your Twitter, just for everybody watching out there?
It's JZ_SV.
At JZ_SV. Please
Easy.
give this man a follow. Jay-Z, welcome back to the desk. Loved interviewing you after your win. It's been a while since we've gotten to speak. Starforged Legends has been out for a little bit. How have you been enjoying the expansion? Have you found a particular deck or playstyles that you really enjoy?
I've been absolutely loving this expansion. There are so many memes that are just barely like not tier 1, and like Jormungand, and like I feel like Atomy is strong, but like not quite there. But like it's still a really strange deck that I get to enjoy playing. Stuff like that, and there's a whole lot more that I've been experimenting with, like Star Phoenix Fan. Just
oh yeah.
You know,
Oh yeah.
storm you with a pile of 2/2s, and then like every time you Blazing Breath, you get to make 3 more 2/2s. It's pretty good. I want to spend more time on that kind of thing, but also Forest is good, and Forest is back.
Nice.
That's great.
Yes, I'm very happy about that. I'm sure all of us here are.
We're all happy.
Everybody on the Shadowverse Open is very happy. Everybody who comes on camera is happy that Force is back. But speaking about that, before we start talking a little bit more about this the tournament, how's your preparation for kind of the invitational portion as well as the Contenders Cup? How has that been going for you based on what you've seen in tournaments and competition today especially? How do you feel about the decks that people are bringing and the competition that's out there? Are there any particular thoughts, or are you just kind of focused in and just studying up on the decks on your own?
I've been working really hard because all of my Mana Search teammates are in like desperate need of scrims because, you know, they have to qualify. So
Yep.
yeah, like I was up till 4 a.m. last night scrimming with auto aim with like the entire like several people on my team watching and making sure that like we're all like on the same page on plays and things. And I mean, like it's not work that I'm doing for myself, but anytime I put in for my teammates here is going to help me down the line.
Well, certainly,
Absolutely.
Mana Surge is doing really well right now. They had Mana Surge Red getting all the way on the winner's side to the grand finals, and Icy Stars nearly made the cut.
So
Very close. So Mana Surge nearly had a flood of players kind of qualifying in. But let's take a look at the, or actually we've already seen it right. We don't even see it anymore. We already know what the matchup is. But the lobby is about to get set. What do you feel about this particular matchup, Jay-Z? How have you felt about Piao's play so far? What are the chances that Red has kind of very practically about these deck matchups, and what do you think is dangerous here in this final match in the tournament?
Piao's play has been looking pretty clean. I haven't gotten to see most of his games because I've been, you know, practicing on my own. And also I haven't gotten to see the last few games because the stream is on delay.
Yeah.
But yeah, his play looks good. It looks like he really knows what he's doing on that PTP deck of his. I like the lines he's taking. And I think that like I would give the edge to Red here because I think he's got the aggression to take down the PTP deck is not that fast. It's got some like basically it's a tempo forest deck with bricks that win late game for you, but do absolutely nothing early. So he can be taken down very fast by aggro sword, especially if he doesn't draw Wood of Brambles. And I don't know that the deck is that good against D-Shift either. So I'm like, things
We'll have to see.
I feel like it can be good against D-Shift, but it looks like D-Shift got banned out. So Piao, knowing that he doesn't want to play against that deck, and feels like he has a better chance against the Sword and the Dragon deck. So that being said, do you think that Red is more of an advantage now, or less an advantage because he doesn't have his D-Shift to play with?
Yeah, great ban coming in from the for the D-Shift, because that's going to be really hard to beat with that Tempo Forest and especially the Aegis deck.
Oh yeah.
That's
Oh yeah.
happening.
Aegis not known for beating D-Shift very easily. Very late game deck, very hard to win against D-Shift. So yeah, great ban here. So what do you think about this matchup? So we know what Red's doing, we know what Piao is doing. Do you think that there's any difference in the fact that this is PDK instead of regular ramp against PTP?
PDK is, I believe, much better against the early game of the Forest deck because he gets to play Fire Lizards. I assume he's still got. Like I know recently people have been cutting Matildas and Fire Lizards, but I think Red has still got a couple in there.
We haven't seen a cut of them yet in competitive play. We still see the Matildas, we still see the Fire Lizards. People, at least on this stage, have been keeping them in their deck.
Interesting. It's something that I expect to see soon then.
Why do you say that? Why gone are the Fire Lizards and the Matildas? Just slower format, or?
The more heavy you go in the mirror matchups, it feels like the better your odds are, because the actual PDK engine is more of a diversion for your other threats.
Sure. I mean, usually you're winning with like Fortes and Genesis Dragons
Exactly.
or Zeus's or whatever. Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. So we are seeing an aggressive start from Piao here, with not a great answer yet, but of course PDK being online next turn to help shore that up. It's looking pretty good for Red here, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. Full health and PDK on next turn. I don't think there's a good answer for that.
Not in the hand. As we know, Piao isn't playing any high-costed cards in his deck beyond a Fairy Beast, so he doesn't have Dance of Deaths, he doesn't have like great ways to deal with all of these non-attack followers. Of course, Forte can die to Elf Child Maze or Airbound Barrages, but like you said, PDK, this 5 toughness, maybe even possibly 7 toughness, almost impossible to clear off the board.
Yeah. Wow, Red is going to be very unhappy to see that point of power go to the Goblin, I think. Because I think the play he wanted to make this turn was to evolve the PDK into the Goblin, and putting it at 3 health instead of 4 allows Airbound Barrage to clear it.
Absolutely, and it looks like it's the play that he's probably going to make, though.
Burn the darkness. Scorch the light.
Oh boy.
Yep.
Yeah, this
So
PDK
actually opening this, yeah,
gonna get answered.
can be killed. Just talked about how it couldn't be, but Airbound Barrage being able to kill this even after an Evo by setting up. So again, Piao just showing that he knows what he needs to do. I like it. I like it.
Red
So
is gonna get a clear, though.
yeah, that is true. And you said, so a lot of changes you've been thinking about for PDK are with the mirror in mind, specifically. Do you think that the mirror is going to be more prevalent this time? Like, do you think that Dragon is just going to be a mainstay this entire season? Do you think it's going to fade away at all? Like, what do you think is the future of Dragon right now?
Yeah, I think PDK is currently the strongest deck you can play in the Dragon class. It just does a lot of things very well. It defends early game. It has a very strong late game. It's hard to deal with. Like PDK just adds another threat, like to the list of Bahamut and Genesis and Forte, that it just, you need a specific kind of answer, and it constantly asks questions like, can you deal with this? How about this? And then like if you miss a step, you just die.
Right.
And that's the kind of deck that you want to be playing.
I like it too because before it was like Saha Quill or, you know, Wrath Drake or just some like big doofs, you know, all the way up so that you could finally get to your Bahamuts and stuff. But now, like, unassumingly, you get to play cards like Ivory Dragon, which help you cycle even, where you really didn't want to play that before. It just lets you play all of these cool, unique cards. Even 3 Scythers again in Dragon to help with like Bahamut Wars and things like that. I think it just opens up Dragon to do way more than it ever could before. So I think you're right. I think PDK is the best version of Dragon at the moment, by far. I think it's great.
Yeah. Well, we're probably gonna see a Bahamut slam here.
Yes. Pretty easy, Bahamut. Now, Pixie Mischief can answer it, but that doesn't really answer it. Just kind of gives you an extra turn.
Yep. You get to send it back to hand. It'll come back down. It'll destroy the board again.
Yep.
Bahamut things.
Yeah, and unfortunately, Piao isn't at enough shadows to even activate a Path of Purgatory, even if he Altered Fates into it. So is going with the plan to just bounce the Bahamut for now, just to give himself another turn. Okay, not the worst. Does have some sort of Roach combo in there. I don't know if it's good enough, though. Let's count. He's got 2 Roach combo. It's not 16 damage. I believe it's only 14 damage he can deal next turn, at most.
Yeah, without any way of generating 0 cost, this deck doesn't really piece together the most aggressive Roach plays. You kind of need to get a lot of chip damage in there.
Without any chip, this Bahamut... I don't know if even the Bahamut is necessary now. You probably just go like Sybil, Scyther, or something like that. Maybe even Dragon Oracle first to draw into PDK.
Yeah, you can totally play it slow here and just wait to Bahamut their Path to Purgatories away. I think that's what he's choosing to do here.
I like it. And choosing to put the Staircase of Heaven into play, I would imagine this turn as well. No, okay. Saving it.
Okay. Setting up lethal. Also good.
Yep, also good. Yeah, and I don't think anywhere close to lethal anymore, especially after the Sybil heal. And again, no Path to Purgatory to kind of answer the board. So realistically, it's just Fairy Beast to kind of extend. But I really don't know how Piao wins this game.
Yeah, it's looking really rough for him. I imagine Fairy Beast and using a Roach to clear, but that removes most of his win conditions.
Right. I think he has to keep the Roach and pray.
Yeah.
Because next turn, okay, so if he waits one more turn and he has full Roach combo with 7, that means he can play 2 spells before. Actually, that's only 14. So actually, he couldn't deal 14 this turn. Even next turn, his max is 14. So still not anywhere close to 19. And 20 if this Sybil remains in play. So I think Piao's in a, too much of a rough spot to come back out of this game.
Yeah. His deck just doesn't have the ability to crush PDK's early game or outlast PDK in a long drawn out game, and we're just seeing it here. He just doesn't have the tools to win.
So if you were playing PTP, what are tools that you would put into it to kind of offset this deficit that we see? Would you be playing Elven Princess Mage? Would you be playing, any of the new cards that you can think of, maybe even extending the curve a little bit more besides just 1 and 2 drops? Is there anything that you would do to kind of shore up its weaknesses?
The card that I've found strongest in this type of deck is Venus. Because she, yes, the Amulet can be killed by Bahamut, but if you just have Venus and Harvest Festival on the board generating value every single turn, you can eventually hit the point where you just threaten Roach Lethal with all the nonsense in your hand, and that's a way to win the game. But this matchup is just rough.
Yeah. Anything with Bahamut is just going to feel good against PTP in general. Unless you get the crazy start that Piao got last match, where he literally just out-aggressed Ramp Dragon with a perfect kind of hand. It's pretty nice to see.
Yeah. I believe he could trigger PTP this turn if he wanted to. Maybe not.
Even if that is the option, of course, he already knows the Bahamut's in hand because he Pixie Mischiefed it. So yeah, I believe he can activate PTP, but it's just going to feel bad. Maybe he's got to force it down, though, and just find an answer to Bahamut. I don't know.
It's possible that if he can conserve enough resources out of hand after playing the PTP, he can assemble 14 damage from Roaches.
Mm-hmm. And that's probably actually the plan, because Bahamut won't kill him. So yeah, if he can activate PTP, get the 6 damage in this turn, both of the Sybils being expended for red here, so none after the PTP, he could actually just have a lethal next turn, but decides to go with the Fairy Beast instead.
Yeah, this is, I think he's just a little bit worried about storm damage coming up, but he's gonna eat 10 damage at least, and then potentially more out of hand.
I don't mind this line, though. If there isn't lethal found here for red, this might be a line that Piao has to win the game. Specifically with how you said, just activate PTP with as limited resources as possible, and then set up a Roach lethal after the Bahamut's played to answer the PTP. So Piao, in a way, finding a route to victory that we just didn't see earlier. We just thought he was dead, but he has a real chance now, especially with no Fortes or Genesis Dragons or anything in the hand of red to kind of finish this game up.
Mhm. I have to imagine the plan for red here is to clear with Breath of the Salamander and then save PDK for lethal next turn.
We'll see, he might Scyther this turn to get some extra damage in.
I'm gonna rest for a bit. Hear the dragons
There's a Dragon Summoner, okay. Okay, finds a Forte. Great draw.
Forte is a good card.
It's not bad. It's not a bad one. So yeah, Forte plus Scyther will mean victory regardless now. Unfortunate for Piao. I think again, Piao, Red obviously showing that he knows how to play Dragon, and we know Red's a good player. Piao being a new player, just showing that he knows how to play Shadowverse. Like, this is awesome to see a new player. Like, if now that we know that Piao's actually going to be on the track for this season, are you afraid of this guy? Do you think he offers something that we haven't seen before? Do you think he's nothing? You know, how do you feel about him?
Piao's play has been really impressive. Like, I don't think any new player could have come up with such a great line that gives him a chance in a really, really horrible matchup.
Yeah.
Like, you know, like, he's only just barely short of killing Red here. Red just had to get the Storm that turn, and he did, but you know.
It's interesting too, because he didn't Scyther for the extra damage to maybe try to end with PDK or something like that. He went for the Dragon Summoner and pulled the Forte. So like his kind of off the wall play really paid off there, and I think that's probably what he was looking for, was something like a Forte or a Genesis Dragon off of that.
Yeah. It would have been pretty hard to get the damage that he needed off of just PDK, so he needed to either get a cheap follower or a Forte, and Forte he is the card he got, and Forte is going to win him the game.
Yep. Yeah, I still think very impressive line from both players. Both of them showing they're exactly where they need to be in the finals of today, so.
Yeah, absolutely.
What a
Both
great
players show they deserve to be here.
What about Icy Stars? Were you sad to see him go? I know I was rooting for Icy Stars.
Yeah, I didn't get to see him in the losers finals, but it's just unfortunate. I think he's just slightly unfavored. Almost all the Mana Surge players today are on the same lineup, except Icy Stars brought Daria instead of D-Shift, which makes him unfavored against the other Mana Surge players. Just a little bit unfortunate.
Mostly because Daria is still up in the air, even with Mystic Ring. So let's talk about Daria for a second. Do you think Daria is any better because of Mystic Ring and the new Calling card, or do you think it's much the same, where it's kind of just luck-based and whatever?
Okay, so I tested Mystic Ring and Daria for 8 games.
Mm-hmm.
After not drawing Daria in 6 games, I came to the conclusion that I'd rather just, not put a card into my deck that only does things if I draw the card, like, that wins me the game anyways.
That's fair.
So,
That's
yeah,
fair.
I don't really know what to say.
Well, I'm just saying, would you recommend anybody to play Daria? Do you think its new tools make it any better, or do you think it's literally just the same deck it was and they probably should keep it on the shelf?
I think Daria is pretty much the same deck it was, but that doesn't mean you need to put it on the shelf. Neutral's got nerfed, right? And
Yes.
so, like, just because the deck didn't get anything in the last expansion doesn't mean that it's not good right now. As to whether or not it's actually good, I'm not too sure. I don't really think it's a great choice against Aggro Sword or Prime
Definitely
Dragon.
not against Aggro Sword, no. No. PDK, I feel like it could Daria on a turn that makes it really awkward for PDK, but you have to be in, like, the perfect set of circumstances, right? You have to be doing, like, your turn 4, turn 5 Daria thing for it even to matter to PDK, so.
Yeah, and I just don't think that's consistent enough.
Right. So you heard it here first. Don't play Daria right now, and maybe not even Mystic Ring.
Hey, I'm not
JZ.
saying Daria. Daria is one of the most fun decks in this game, in my experience.
It
just
was my favorite deck for a long period of time. It was one of my favorite decks.
There are few feelings as good as going from an unplayable hand to dropping every single card and then drawing 5. Like, nothing compares to that. It's just so good.
Alright, so let's hop into this game here. So, MS Red with his aggro deck showing exactly what you were talking about. Just this aggro deck being absolutely insane as far as the early game is concerned against his Forest deck.
Yeah, this is looking pretty rough for Piao here. Like I said, if you don't get Brambles in this matchup, your fairies are outclassed really, really fast, and it leaves you kind of hard up to answer all these cards coming out of Sword. Especially cards like Council of Card Knights, which we don't see yet, but that card is just straight unbeatable as Tempo Forest.
Yeah, just so much value out of a single card so early in the game. And Fairy Beast not being able to be played yet, and Piao not actually able to clear the entire board here is going to just mean doom. He's got the Juliet in hand with an Evo. There's going to be at least one follower that survives here, so this is just it.
Yeah, it's looking pretty bad. I think he has to he has to evolve his fairy, use it to attack, and then bounce it back to his hand if he wants to win, have a chance to survive.
And hope to get an Airbound Barrage. Yeah, that's the only way. And he's not letting himself do that, so...
Oh, he didn't go for it. He needed to draw something like a May?
And he got it! And he got it! Oh!
My mission is complete.
That's gonna feel bad, Piao.
Haven't seen too many mistakes from Piao, but
Wow.
that seems like one to me.
Unfortunately, wouldn't have mattered with the Round Table Assembly top deck anyway. But yeah, that's a very slight mistake. Wouldn't have mattered, but that's the only one. But he made it to the finals anyway, and Red taking it down. Congratulations, Red, and congratulations, Piao.
There it is.
Awesome stuff.
Mana Surge's Red takes first place in the qualifier, and I know he's been trying for a long time. You know, ever since Season 1, he's been playing and just hasn't been able to find the right kind of deck lineups and hasn't been kind of getting the right matchups, and he's finally done it. And he had a fantastic run on the winner's side of the bracket. He just stayed there and played really well. JZ, what do you think about Red as a new potential competitor here for you going into Starforged Legends?
Yeah,
season?
you're gonna have to start boxing with him.
It is so strange to see basically my team captain, as a competitor. But yeah, he absolutely has been working incredibly hard. He was up with me and Auto Aim all night last night, working on his decks, and I believe he did not sleep between last night and today.
Yeah.
So that's incredible that he's able to, find good lines consistently and not hunting the game when you're at like 30 hours of no sleep is incredible.
Yeah.
And I believe Red wanted to shout out Auto Aim because the lineup that Red brought today is Auto Aim's.
There it is.
Isn't that who you said you got your decks from when you won?
Yeah. Auto Aim has been a huge asset.
Secret
on our
tech?
team.
The North American
Secret tech.
Engine. That's what
That's
Auto Aim is. The North American Engine. All right, let's take a look at the bracket to see how the tournament has ended here. Mana Surge Red on the top, 2-0 in the finals, easily taking Piao down, will be the first place winner in the first week of qualifiers. That means he is in the Starforged Legends season, as well as Piao in the second place will be joining him. And these are two of the new players that are coming in. Of course, congratulations to Icy Stars for a third place finish and Underwear for a fourth place. Again, Icy Stars and Underwear can try again in week 2, try again in week 3, but they are not in yet. And we'll have to see if they make it back in further weeks. But I'm kind of really excited to see Piao and Red kind of try to compete for the Contenders Cup. Obviously, because there's only 3 spots and there's 12 players that are going to compete for it. Jay-Z is going to start having to flex some muscles. And, maybe I guess the ideal situation for Jay-Z is having 3 Mana Surge people make it to Tokyo. Maybe that's the outcome you're shooting for.
And a Surge team trip.
A Mana Surge team trip. That'd be really fun. So, love to ask you some questions about the World Grand Prix. As you're kind of preparing for this and watching these players coming through the qualifiers, the timing of the Contenders Cup is a little bit interesting, right? Because there could be some potential changes. The meta could be divergent, both because of player research, but also I believe, I'm trying to think, but if we're going by the monthly cadence, there's a possibility that a patch change might hit before the Contenders Cup comes. What are your thoughts about that? Are you confident in kind of the resources you have to research decks and kind of make a strong play for it? How are you feeling right now, JZ?
There's actually a meme that went around recently that shows a picture of me chasing after auto aim saying, "Give me decks." And I believe that is about as accurate as it's gonna get.
Awesome.
I don't think my decks are that bad, but they're all a little bit on the meme side. And
That's
when I
hard to
want
do.
like actual like good decks, I turn to my teammates.
Yeah. Well, it really seems like, so if you guys have been paying attention or listening to the broadcast at all, here's my piece of advice. Take $500, $600, $700, go to Auto Aim's house, and just ring the doorbell.
That's
Just
right.
Build me
Cash in
decks.
hand. Auto aim, here you go. Let's go.
Hire that man to be your Shadowverse coach, because he is providing the backbone to North American Shadowverse success. So we'll see if that plays out. How'd you like the qualifier today? How are you liking kind of the competition, and what are you looking forward to in heading into the new season of the NGE Shadowverse Open, JZ?
Today was exciting. I got to see a lot of really different decks, and that is something that, you know, in the TOTG meta, you would just never have seen.
That's very
Right.
true.
Right?
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's very true.
Yeah.
In your mind, is there a competitor that hasn't yet qualified, not in kind of the top 6 of Season 2 and not kind of qualified yet? Is there a competitor that you want to see make it through? Is it Auto Aim? Do you think Auto Aim is going to make it through to the new season? Who is a player that you would want to join you in kind of the tournament?
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely auto aim, but since I've shouted him out so much already, can I say like Spray Plaza instead? Just,
Absolutely.
you know, Spray Plaza also a really, really good player. Fell a little bit short today, just like auto aim. But I expect to see next week both of these players doing well.
Yep.
Are you gonna three-peat is the real question.
Oh.
You gonna three-peat, JZ? You gonna do it?
I hope so, but it's also Shadowverse, anything can happen. Like I could win again, you know?
Yeah, honestly,
The
I feel like
confidence.
I would love to ask if there is a repeat winner in Japan. There must be. There has to be a repeat.
There has to
There
be,
has
right?
to be, right? Otherwise, Jay-Z is going to be the world first 2-time back-to-back. I mean, okay, it's super unlikely that they would have won it. You know, whatever. I'll start thinking about this on my
Either
own
here
time.
or there.
Meanwhile, a short message to you guys before we close out the broadcast. If you want to participate and you want a chance to fight Jay-Z or go to Tokyo and compete in the World Grand Prix, then you need to sign up right now. Shadowverse.nge.io. There's 2 weeks of qualifiers left, and that is your path to get into the Contenders Cup. And the Contenders Cup is your path to get to the World Grand Prix. So shadowverse.nge.io. Sign up. Next week, NA and EU. There's one more qualifier there, and the week after that is the last one for both North America and Europe, and then we're off to the Contenders Cup and the season for Starforged Legends. So make sure you get into the competition if that's something that you want to do. $120,000 on the line. So I'm really excited for it. Thank you so much, Jay-Z, for coming on and sharing a lot of your thoughts and insights and kind of talking about the team a little bit. I'm looking forward to seeing you compete, and I'd love to continue having your insight being shared with this community. It's always great to see you play and also hear you speak about the game. So, with that, thank you very much to Envy for casting today and kind of offering her spot to Mana Surge's Jay-Z, the 2-time champion. Thank you, Exodio, for your continued professional cast. And Jay-Z, I'm gonna let you sign out for the broadcast because you're our guest today. So give it a whirl.
Thanks everyone for watching. It's been great. This tournament's been really exciting, and you know, if you didn't get there this time, show up next time and try again. All right, believe in yourself. All right, goodbye everyone.